seekers, and wisdom warriors. Welcome to Vibe Audiobook, the place where we unlock the secrets to a more strategic and successful life. Today, we're diving deep into a book that has captivated leaders, entrepreneurs, and anyone interested in the intricate dance of human influence. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly command respect and achieve their desires, while others struggle despite their best efforts? Have you ever wished you had a roadmap to navigate the complex social landscape of business, relationships, and even your personal goals? If so, then you're in the right place. The 48 Laws of Power is not just a book, it's a profound exploration of history's most effective and often ruthless strategies for acquiring and maintaining power. It's a guide that distills centuries of human experience, from ancient empires to Renaissance courts, from military campaigns to modern boardrooms, into 48 timeless principles. Whether you aim to climb the corporate ladder, protect yourself from manipulation, or simply understand the hidden dynamics at play in every interaction, the lessons within these pages are invaluable. We're going to embark on a chapter-by-chapter journey, uncovering the core essence of each law, dissecting its historical context, and most importantly, understanding how you can apply or defend yourself against these powerful insights in your own life. This isn't about becoming a Machiavellian villain. It's about becoming acutely aware, strategically savvy, and ultimately more in control of your destiny. So settle in, open your mind, and prepare to have your perspective shifted. The journey through the 48 Laws of Power begins now. And as we embark on this exciting exploration, remember to show us some love. Hit that like button, share this episode with anyone who needs a power boost, and subscribe to Vibe Audiobook so you never miss out on our next deep dive.
Chapter 1, Law 1. Never outshine the master. Our journey into the heart of power begins with a law that might feel counterintuitive at first glance, especially in a world that often celebrates individual brilliance. Law number 1, never outshine the master. Imagine a young, ambitious assistant, brimming with talent and innovative ideas. They present a brilliant solution that far surpasses anything their boss has conceived, perhaps even publicly. What do you think happens next? While they might expect praise and recognition, Robert Greene warns us that often the reality is far different. This law teaches us a fundamental truth about human nature. People, especially those in positions of power, have fragile egos. They love to feel secure, superior, and in control. When you, consciously or unconsciously, outshine your master, whether it's your boss, mentor, or even a friend you admire, you inadvertently trigger their insecurities. You make them feel inferior, threatened, and perhaps even foolish. And what's the typical human response to feeling threatened? Resentment, envy, and a desire to cut down the source of that discomfort. Think of it like a gardener tending to their prized rose bush. They want the roses to bloom beautifully, but they wouldn't want a rogue weed suddenly growing taller and more vibrant, stealing all the attention. The master is the gardener, and you are the bloom. They want you to flourish, but not at the expense of their own perceived glory. Historically, we see countless examples of this. Take the tragic story of Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister to Louis XIV of France. Fouquet was immensely wealthy, intelligent, and a patron of the arts. He hosted a magnificent party, attempting to impress the young king. His chateau and the festivities were so opulent, so dazzling, that they completely eclipsed the grandeur of the king's own court. Louis XIV, instead of being impressed, felt deeply humiliated and threatened. Fouquet was arrested shortly after and imprisoned for life. His brilliance, instead of earning him favor, sealed his doom because he dared to outshine the Sun King. Now, this doesn't mean you should hide your talents or become a wallflower. Not at all. The key is subtlety and strategy. How do you shine without outshining? One way is to make your master appear even more brilliant. Attribute your good ideas to their inspiration, or frame your successes as a direct result of their guidance. If you come up with a groundbreaking strategy, present it in a way that suggests you merely built upon their existing framework or realized their vision. Allow them to take credit, even if it's not entirely deserved. This not only makes them feel good, but also makes you see you as a valuable asset, someone who enhances their power rather than diminishes it. Another tactic is to display your talents in a non-threatening way. Perhaps you excel in areas that your master doesn't care about, or you develop skills that complement theirs without directly competing. For example, if your boss is a brilliant strategist but struggles with public speaking, becoming an excellent presenter could make you invaluable without challenging their core competence. The danger of ignoring this law is severe. You risk being resented, sabotaged, or even dismissed. Your master might subtly undermine your projects, spread rumors, or deny you opportunities, all because your brightness feels like a shadow cast over their own. They might keep you close enough to benefit from your skills, but never allow you to rise to a position where you could truly challenge them. In essence, Law 1 is about understanding the psychological landscape of power. It's about managing perceptions and making those above you feel secure in their position. When they feel secure, they are more likely to nurture your growth, confident that your success will ultimately reflect well on them. It's a delicate dance, a strategic display of humility that, paradoxically, can be one of your most powerful tools for advancement. So before you present your next revolutionary idea, take a moment. How can you frame this so that your master, your mentor, or even your friend feels elevated rather than overshadowed? How can you shine brightly but always keep the spotlight subtly angled back towards the one above you? This careful consideration is the first step on the path to true power.
Chapter 2. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Now let's delve into a law that might feel a little jarring, perhaps even cynical, but one that offers profound insights into the realpolitik of relationships. Law number 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. This isn't an indictment of friendship itself, nor is it a call to treat everyone with suspicion. Instead, it's a pragmatic warning about the potential pitfalls of relying too heavily on those you consider closest, and a strategic revelation about the unexpected utility of your adversaries. Why be wary of friends? Green argues that friends often mix business with pleasure, and this blend can be disastrous. When you hire a friend, for example, the lines of authority become blurred. It's harder to give critical feedback, to fire them if necessary, or to make tough decisions that might impact your friendship. Their emotions can easily get entangled with their professional performance, leading to resentment if they feel undervalued or unfairly treated. Furthermore, friends know your weaknesses, your secrets, and your vulnerabilities. In a moment of jealousy, wounded pride, or simple misunderstanding, this intimate knowledge can become a weapon. They might unknowingly or even intentionally betray you if their self-interest or emotions become sufficiently agitated. Consider the historical example of Emperor Augustus and his general Agrippa. Agrippa was Augustus's closest friend and most loyal ally, crucial to his rise to power. Yet Augustus, despite his deep affection for Agrippa, was always careful to maintain a professional distance in matters of state. He utilized Agrippa's military genius, but never allowed their friendship to compromise his ultimate authority or strategic decisions. He knew that even the most loyal friend could, under different circumstances, become a liability if the boundaries were not clear. On the other hand, enemies, or at least those who are not your close friends, operate under a different set of rules. They expect less, they demand less, and paradoxically, they can often be more reliable. An enemy, or a neutral party, has something to prove. They're motivated by self-preservation, a desire for redemption, or a need to demonstrate their worth. They don't have the emotional baggage that can complicate interactions with friends. Green highlights the case of China's Han Dynasty founder, Liu Bang. He effectively used enemies and rivals to solidify his power, offering them incentives and positions that friends might have taken for granted. He understood that a former rival, given a chance and a reason to prove loyalty, could be fiercely devoted, precisely because they had more to lose and more to gain. How do you use enemies? It's not about turning them into allies in a sentimental way, but about understanding their motivations and leveraging them for your own ends. Understand their motivations. What do they want? What are their weaknesses? Offer a mutually beneficial arrangement. Can you give them something they desperately need or desire in exchange for their temporary cooperation? Keep them at a distance. Unlike friends, you don't need to trust their intentions, only their actions, as long as those actions serve your purpose. Use them as a counterweight. Sometimes having a former enemy on your side can deter other potential adversaries, as it shows your willingness to be pragmatic and your ability to gain unexpected support. The core lesson here is that in the realm of power, pure emotion can be a dangerous guide. Friendship, with all its beautiful complexities, is built on emotion. Professional alliances, however, should be built on shared interests, clear expectations, and mutual benefit. When you mix the two, you risk both your power and your friendships. This law isn't about becoming cold-hearted. It's about developing a strategic perspective on human relationships. It teaches you to differentiate between the people you cherish for their companionship and the people you rely on for their competence and loyalty in achieving your goals. It also nudges you to look beyond conventional alliances and consider how even those who oppose you might, under the right circumstances, be turned into a valuable asset. So the next time you consider hiring a friend or confiding a sensitive secret, pause and reflect on the potential complications. And when you face an adversary, instead of immediately dismissing them, consider if there's a way their energy, their ambition, or even their opposition could be subtly redirected to serve your strategic interests. This strategic discernment is a hallmark of true power.
Chapter 3, Law 3. Conceal your intentions. We move now to a law that is a cornerstone of strategic thinking, a principle that, when mastered, can give you an almost invisible advantage. Law number 3. Conceal your intentions. Imagine playing a game of chess. If your opponent knows your next 3 moves, your strategy, and your ultimate goal, how likely are you to win? Not very. The same applies to the game of power. When others know exactly what you're planning, what you desire, and what your ultimate aims are, they can easily anticipate your moves, prepare their defenses, or even actively thwart your efforts. The human tendency is often to be open, transparent, and direct, especially when we want to build trust or gain support. But Robert Greene warns us that such openness, while appearing virtuous, can be a profound vulnerability in the pursuit of power. People are inherently self-interested. If they know your intentions, they will immediately begin to calculate how your plans will affect them. And if they perceive any threat or disadvantage, they will instinctively work against you. Concealing your intentions doesn't mean being dishonest in a malicious way. It means being strategically opaque. It means creating a smokescreen, diverting attention, or simply keeping your cards close to your chest until the opportune moment. Consider the story of Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor of Prussia. His ultimate intention was the unification of Germany under Prussian leadership. This was a massive, ambitious goal that, if openly declared too early, would have aroused suspicion and opposition from neighboring states and within Germany itself. Instead, Bismarck engaged in a series of calculated diplomatic maneuvers, appearing to pursue various short-term, seemingly innocuous goals.
He forged alliances, engaged in limited wars, and presented his actions as defensive or for the good of a larger, ambiguous European balance of power. By the time his true intention, a unified German empire, became undeniable, it was already too late for his adversaries to stop him. His brilliance lay in making his moves appear reactive and necessary, rather than part of a grand, premeditated design. Another excellent example is the Trojan horse. The Greeks' true intention was to conquer Troy. If they had openly declared this intention by continuing their siege, the Trojans would have remained on guard. Instead, they feigned retreat, leaving behind a seemingly harmless gift, a giant wooden horse. The Trojans, believing the Greeks had given up, brought the horse inside their impregnable city walls, unwittingly ushering in their own downfall. Their intentions were utterly concealed beneath a facade of defeat and a gesture of peace. So, how do you effectively conceal your intentions? Talk of goals that are desirable but unattainable. Present your current actions as steps towards a grand, noble, but perhaps vague goal that is far in the future. This keeps people distracted from your immediate, more tangible aims. Use a decoy. Actively pursue a minor goal that seems important, drawing attention away from your actual, more significant objective. Like a magician's misdirection, you make people focus on one hand while the other hand performs the real trick. Feigned innocence or honesty. Sometimes appearing completely artless and straightforward can be the most effective disguise. People often assume that truly cunning individuals must be complex and secretive, so a display of blunt honesty can lull them into a false sense of security. Practice misdirection. If you want to achieve X, talk endlessly about Y or Z. Make others believe you are interested in something else entirely, or even in the opposite of what you truly desire. The dangers of failing to conceal your intentions are numerous. You become predictable, easily manipulated, and vulnerable to sabotage. Your rivals can prepare counter-strategies, gather resources to oppose you, or even steal your ideas and execute them before you do. This law teaches us that power is often a game of chess played in the shadows, where foresight and strategic ambiguity are paramount. It's about controlling the narrative, managing perceptions, and never revealing your full hand until you are ready to play your winning move. It doesn't mean you must become a constant deceiver, but rather a master of strategic timing and subtle misdirection. By keeping your true aims hidden, you maintain the element of surprise, leaving your opponents guessing and giving you the space to maneuver effectively toward your ultimate goals.
Chapter 4. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. Continuing our exploration of the subtle art of influence, we arrive at law number 4. Always say less than necessary. This law is a powerful antidote to the common impulse to talk too much, to explain ourselves excessively, or to fill every silence with words. In our modern world, we often equate eloquence, articulacy, and abundant communication with intelligence and leadership. We feel compelled to share our thoughts, justify our actions, and impress others with our knowledge. But Robert Greene reveals a profound truth. The more you speak, the more ordinary you appear, and the more likely you are to slip up. When you say less than necessary, you achieve several powerful effects. You appear more powerful and mysterious. Silence, when strategically deployed, can be incredibly intimidating and intriguing. People tend to fill in the blanks, often attributing greater wisdom and depth to those who hold their counsel. They wonder what profound thoughts lie behind your quiet demeanor. You avoid revealing vulnerabilities. Every word you utter is a potential window into your thoughts, intentions, and weaknesses. The more you speak, the more likely you are to unintentionally reveal something that can be used against you,
expose a flaw in your plan, or simply make you seem less intelligent than you are. You gain information. While others are busy talking and revealing themselves, you are listening, observing, and gathering valuable intelligence. You learn about their desires, their fears, and their weaknesses, all of which are crucial for strategic advantage. You control the narrative. By speaking sparingly, your words carry more weight. When you do choose to speak, your statements are perceived as more significant, more authoritative, and more definitive. You command attention rather than seeking it. Think of the historical figure of Louis XIV, the Sun King. He famously cultivated an aura of divine authority and regal distance. He spoke little, and when he did, his words were deliberate, measured, and often enigmatic. This scarcity of communication only enhanced his mystique and power. His courtiers would scrutinize every subtle gesture and rare utterance, desperate to understand his will, elevating him to an almost godlike status. He knew that accessibility breeds contempt, and too much familiarity erodes awe. Conversely, consider the plight of those who speak too freely. They might inadvertently insult someone, reveal a secret, or simply bore their audience. Their words lose impact, and they can be easily dismissed or underestimated. A person who constantly chatters can be seen as lacking substance, unable to control their impulses, and therefore lacking control in general. How do you practice saying less than necessary? Be concise. When you must speak, get straight to the point. Avoid rambling or unnecessary details. Use ambiguity. Sometimes a slightly ambiguous statement can be more powerful than a direct one, allowing others to interpret it in a way that serves your interests. Listen intently. Make listening your primary mode of interaction. Encourage others to speak. Ask open-ended questions, and truly absorb what they are saying. Master the pause. Silence can be a powerful tool. A deliberate pause before you speak can build anticipation and make your eventual words more impactful. A long stare or a slight smile can convey more than a paragraph of explanation. Let others reveal themselves. Most of the talking, they will often reveal their desperation, their fears, or their true bottom line without realizing it. The danger of ignoring this law is that you dilute your power. You become predictable, easily read, and often easily dismissed. You sacrifice the aura of mystery and wisdom that silence can bestow. You risk becoming just another voice in a crowded room, rather than the one whose infrequent words command profound attention. This law is not about being mute or withdrawn. It's about intentional communication, about understanding the power dynamics of conversation. It's about recognizing that power often resides not in what you say, but in what you don't say, and in the strategic control you exert over your own words. By mastering the art of saying less, you elevate your presence, enhance your influence, and give your words the weight of gold. So, the next time you find yourself about to launch into a lengthy explanation, pause. Consider if fewer words, or even silence, might serve your purpose more powerfully.
Chapter 5. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. As we continue our exploration of power's timeless principles, we arrive at law number 5, a crucial insight into the invisible currency of influence. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Imagine a fortress. Its walls are strong, its defenses formidable. But what if whispers begin to spread that the fortress is actually weak, that its commander is inept, or that its supplies are dwindling. Even if these rumors are false, they can erode the morale of its defenders and embolden its attackers. This is the power of reputation. In the intricate game of power, your reputation is often your most valuable asset. It's the invisible shield that protects you, the aura that precedes you, and a perceived reality that shapes how others interact with you. A strong reputation can intimidate enemies, attract allies, and open doors that would otherwise remain closed. Conversely, a damaged reputation can cripple your ability to act, attract enemies, and lead to your downfall, even if your actual capabilities remain intact. Why is reputation so potent? Because humans are creatures of perception. We often rely on second-hand information, on what others say, and on generalized assumptions to form our opinions. If you have a reputation for being trustworthy, skillful, or formidable, people will act accordingly, often before they've even had direct experience with you. Your reputation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Consider the legendary reputation of figures like Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan. Their mere names instilled fear and respect in their enemies, often causing armies to surrender before a battle even began. Their reputations, built on past victories and calculated displays of force, did much of their work for them. Conversely, think of the consequences of a ruined reputation. In the French court, a nobleman who lost his reputation for honor or discretion could find himself ostracized, losing all influence and access to power, regardless of his actual abilities. Once a reputation is tarnished, it's incredibly difficult to restore. How do you build and guard your reputation? Build it actively. Don't wait for a reputation to form randomly. Cultivate the qualities you want to be known for. If you want to be seen as shrewd, display shrewdness in your actions. If you want to be seen as honest, be consistently honest. Strategically, of course, as per Law 3. Be consistent. Inconsistency erodes trust and makes your reputation seem unreliable. Strive for a consistent public persona. Associate with the right people. Your reputation is often influenced by the company you keep. Align yourself with those who have strong, positive reputations and distance yourself from those who are tainted. Attack others' reputations strategically. If an enemy has a strong reputation, finding ways to subtly undermine it can be a powerful move. Sowing doubt, revealing past mistakes, or exposing hypocrisy can diminish their power without a direct confrontation. However, this must be done with extreme caution, as it can backfire. Defend it fiercely. If your reputation is attacked, respond swiftly and decisively. Do not let rumors fester. If you allow accusations to go unchallenged, they can quickly take root and become perceived as truth. This might involve public denial, a strategic counterattack, or simply a powerful demonstration that refutes the claims. The danger of neglecting your reputation is immense. You become vulnerable to slander, easily dismissed, and your actual achievements might be overlooked. A tarnished name can lead to a loss of respect, trust, and ultimately power. People will hesitate to work with you, to support you, or to follow you, regardless of your genuine capabilities. This law teaches us that power is not just about what you do, but about what others believe you can do, and what they believe about you. It's about understanding the psychology of public perception and actively shaping it to your advantage. By carefully cultivating, protecting, and strategically deploying your reputation, you create an invisible force that works on your behalf, opening doors, deterring enemies, and magnifying your influence. Your reputation is not just a part of you. In the realm of power, it often is you. Guard it as if your very existence depends on it, because in many ways, it does.
Chapter 6, Law 6, Court Attention at All Costs. From guarding your reputation, we now shift to an equally vital, yet often misunderstood, aspect of power, the strategic pursuit of public recognition. Law number 6, Court Attention at All Costs. In a world brimming with noise and competition, fading into the background is a death sentence for power. If you are not seen, if you are not talked about, if you do not command attention, you might as well not exist. Power thrives on visibility, on being noticed, on being the subject of discussion, even if that discussion is sometimes controversial. The modern equivalent of this law is visible in the world of social media influencers, celebrities, and even political figures who understand that being relevant often means being constantly in the public eye. Why is attention so crucial? It creates a perception of importance. When someone is constantly in the news, frequently discussed, or always present in key forums, we instinctively assume they are important, influential, and powerful. It generates buzz and curiosity. People are drawn to what is shiny, new, or controversial. By strategically drawing attention to yourself, you pique curiosity and make others want to know more about you. It deters enemies. A highly visible figure can be harder to attack in the shadows. Their movements are watched, and any attempt to undermine them might be exposed. It attracts allies and resources. People want to associate with those who are perceived as successful and impactful. Attention can lead to opportunities, collaborations, and increased support. Consider the strategies of someone like P.T. Barnum, the legendary showman. He understood the absolute necessity of attracting attention. He wasn't always concerned whether the attention was positive or negative, he just needed people talking. He would use hoaxes, outrageous claims, and public spectacles to ensure his name and his shows were constantly in the public discourse. His motto could have easily been, "Any publicity is good publicity." By making himself and his ventures the constant subject of gossip and debate, he ensured a steady stream of curious customers. Another historical figure who mastered this was Queen Elizabeth I. She cultivated a highly stylized and dramatic public image. She used elaborate costumes, grand processions, and carefully orchestrated public appearances to project an image of power and majesty. She understood that a monarch's power was not just in their decrees, but in the awe and reverence they inspired, and that required constant, strategic visibility. How do you court attention at all costs? Become a spectacle. Do something memorable, unusual, or even shocking. Break from the mundane. In a sea of conformity, stand out. Cultivate an air of mystery. While attracting attention, don't reveal everything. Law 3. Combine visibility with an intriguing enigma. Associate with the sensational. Be seen with those who are already famous or controversial, or connect your work to events that are already generating buzz. Create controversy, carefully. Sometimes a strategic controversy can propel you into the limelight. However, this is a dangerous game that requires careful calculation to avoid a reputation-destroying backlash. Exaggerate. Exaggerate your achievements, your talents, or your impact. Make your story larger than life. The danger of failing to court attention is that you become invisible, forgettable, and ultimately powerless. In a world saturated with information, those who do not actively seek the spotlight are quickly overshadowed and forgotten. Your ideas, your talents, and your ambitions will remain undiscovered if they are not brought to the attention of others. This law is not about ego or vanity. It's about strategic survival and advancement in the modern age. It's about understanding that power needs oxygen, and that oxygen is attention. By mastering the art of being seen, of being talked about, and of strategically placing yourself in the public eye, you ensure that your influence grows, your opportunities multiply, and your presence is felt. So consider, how can you make yourself or your work undeniable and unforgettable? How can you cut through the noise and make sure all eyes are on you, at least when it matters most?
Chapter 7. Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. We move now to a law that is often practiced, though rarely admitted, in the highest echelons of power. Law number 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. This law speaks to the efficiency of power and the strategic importance of leverage and recognition. In a world where time and energy are finite resources, the ability to multiply your efforts through others is a significant advantage. This law isn't about laziness, it's about strategic delegation and the mastery of resource allocation. It's about understanding that the appearance of effort and the strategic claiming of results is often more important than the labor itself. Why is this law so effective? It conserves your energy. By delegating tasks, you free up your own time and mental resources for higher-level strategic thinking, planning, and networking. It projects an image of omnipotence. When you achieve great things with seemingly little effort, or by simply overseeing the work of many, you appear to be extraordinarily capable and efficient. It fosters dependence. If others are constantly contributing to your successes, they become invested in your continued rise, and you become indispensable as the orchestrator of these achievements. It minimizes risk. If a project fails, the blame can often be subtly shifted to those who did the grunt work. If it succeeds, the credit accrues to you, the leader. Consider the historical example of Thomas Edison. While credited with thousands of patents and inventions, Edison operated an invention factory where numerous brilliant engineers, scientists, and technicians worked under his direction. He provided the vision, the resources, and the framework, but much of the actual experimental work and problem-solving was done by his employees. Yet the final inventions bore Edison's name, and he received the vast majority of the credit and wealth. He understood how to leverage the talent of others to magnify his own perceived genius. Another striking example is the art world during the Renaissance. Many master painters had large workshops with apprentices who did a significant portion of the painting, especially background elements or less important figures. Yet the final masterpiece would be attributed solely to the master, enhancing their reputation and demand. The master provided the overall design, the unique style, and the finishing touches, but relied heavily on the labor of others. How do you apply this law ethically and effectively in the modern world? Delegate effectively. Learn to identify tasks that others can perform, especially those who are eager to prove themselves or gain experience. Provide direction and vision. Your role is not to be idle, but to be the architect, the strategist, the one who conceives the plan and guides the execution. Claim the result, not necessarily the labor. Focus on being the one who made it happen, the one who orchestrated the success, or the one who had the vision. While acknowledging contributions is good for morale, ensure the ultimate credit for the outcome rests with you. Build a strong network. Surround yourself with capable people who are willing to contribute their skills to your endeavors. Repackage others' ideas. Sometimes you don't even need people to do the work, but simply to generate ideas. Take an undeveloped idea from an associate, refine it, and present it as your own, or as something you were instrumental in bringing to fruition. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become bogged down in minutiae, exhausting yourself with tasks that could be better handled by others. You risk appearing less effective or less visionary because you are too busy doing rather than leading. Furthermore, if you generously share credit for every small task, your own significant contributions might be diluted and underestimated. This law teaches us that power is not about individual effort alone, but about the masterful coordination and strategic deployment of all available resources, including human talent. By learning to leverage the work of others, to become the brilliant orchestrator rather than just another laborer,
You not only multiply your achievements, but also enhance your aura of competence and power. It's about being the conductor of the orchestra, even if you didn't personally play every note, ensuring that the symphony of success is ultimately attributed to your direction.
Chapter 8. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. We now turn to a law that emphasizes control, initiative, and the psychological advantage of making your opponents or collaborators move on your terms. Law number 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Imagine a fisherman waiting patiently. He doesn't chase the fish. He casts his line, attaches the perfect bait, and lets the fish come to him. This patient, strategic approach is at the heart of this law. In the realm of power, chasing others often makes you appear weak, desperate, and lacking in confidence. When others come to you, however, you control the territory, the timing, and often the terms of the engagement. Why is it so powerful to make others come to you? You dictate the terms. When someone approaches you, they are inherently in a position of seeking something, whether it's an audience, a favor, or a deal. This immediately gives you leverage. You appear in demand and confident. People are drawn to those who are sought after. If others are constantly coming to you, it signals that you possess something valuable and that you are a person of importance. It conserves your energy. You don't expend energy chasing opportunities or people. Instead, you position yourself as the magnet, letting opportunities come to you. It allows you to assess their desperation. When someone approaches you, their eagerness, their body language, and their initial offers can reveal their level of desperation, giving you crucial information for negotiation. Consider the strategies of Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese military strategist. He emphasized positioning his army on high ground, forcing the enemy to attack uphill, thus expending more energy and revealing their intentions. This is a physical manifestation of making the enemy come to you. The higher ground provides both a tactical advantage and a psychological one. In a more diplomatic context, think of how powerful leaders often conduct important meetings on their turf. A president inviting foreign dignitaries to the White House immediately sets a tone of authority and control. The visiting party, having traveled to their territory, is implicitly accepting the dominance. How do you apply this law? Cultivate an aura of value. Ensure you have something that others genuinely desire, whether it's unique skills, valuable information, access to resources, or a powerful network. This is your bait. Make yourself slightly inaccessible. Don't be too eager or too readily available. A little scarcity can increase your perceived value and make others work harder to reach you. Drop subtle hints or rumors. Let it be known, perhaps through indirect channels, that you possess something valuable or that you are working on something significant. This can pique curiosity and draw people in. Create a sense of urgency, if applicable. If you have a limited opportunity or resource, making others aware of this can compel them to come to you sooner. Use a carefully placed agent. Sometimes having a loyal associate subtly spread the word about your value or a developing opportunity can draw people to you without you having to make direct overtures. The danger of ignoring this law is that you are constantly reacting, constantly chasing. You lose the psychological upper hand, appear less important, and exhaust your resources. By always going to others, you implicitly defer to their power and convenience, positioning yourself as the supplicant rather than the sought after. This law teaches us that power is often a strategic dance of attraction rather than pursuit. It's about carefully positioning yourself as the prize, the resource, or the solution that others need. By creating a gravitational pull around yourself, by mastering the art of the perfect bait, you ensure that you are always in control, dictating the terms of engagement and conserving your energy for the moments that truly matter.
Chapter 9. Law 9.
Win through your actions, never through argument. Let's turn our attention to a law that counters one of our most ingrained human tendencies, the desire to be right, to articulate our superior logic, and to win a debate. Law number 9, win through your actions, never through argument. Imagine two people arguing passionately. One presents irrefutable facts, undeniable logic, and a perfectly constructed case. The other, however, simply dismisses these arguments, perhaps even becoming more entrenched in their original, flawed position. What often happens? The person with the better argument rarely convinces the other side. Instead, they often provoke resentment, ego-driven defensiveness, and a subtle desire for retaliation. Robert Greene reveals a profound truth. Human beings are driven more by emotion and ego than by pure logic. When you win an argument, you've often just bruised someone's ego, making them feel foolish or inferior. They might nod in agreement in the moment, but internally they will harbor ill will and seek ways to prove you wrong in the future. Their pride will compel them to find fault in you rather than accepting your superior reasoning. Actions, however, speak a universal language that bypasses ego and appeals directly to reality. When you demonstrate your point through results, through visible achievements, or through a strategic maneuver that leaves no room for debate, you win without ever having to utter a single contentious word. Consider the historical example of Galileo Galilei. He tried to convince the Church of his heliocentric model of the universe through arguments, calculations, and observations. But the Church, deeply entrenched in its geocentric dogma, saw his arguments as a direct challenge to their authority. His attempts to win through argument ultimately led to his condemnation. If, hypothetically, he had found a way to demonstrate the heliocentric model in an undeniable, tangible way that didn't directly challenge the Church's narrative, perhaps the outcome would have been different. A more applicable example comes from military history. Instead of debating the strength of an enemy's fortifications, a brilliant general simply outmaneuvers them, captures a key strategic point, or wins a decisive battle. The victory itself is the argument, and it is far more persuasive than any speech. How do you apply this law? Focus on results. Instead of trying to convince someone with words, focus your energy on producing the outcome that proves your point. If you believe your strategy is superior, implement it and let the results speak for themselves. Be patient. Actions often take time to unfold. You might need to bide your time, work in the background, and wait for the opportune moment to reveal your success. Demonstrate, don't declare. Show, don't tell. If someone doubts your competence, don't argue with them. Simply complete a task flawlessly or solve a problem they couldn't. Use subtle influence. Sometimes actions can be indirect. By setting up situations, manipulating events, or arranging circumstances, you can guide others to the conclusion you desire without ever having to make a direct appeal or argument. Avoid verbal confrontations. Whenever possible, steer clear of debates, especially those that become heated or personal. They are rarely productive for gaining long-term power. The danger of ignoring this law is that you exhaust yourself in fruitless arguments, gain enemies, and squander opportunities. You might win a verbal skirmish, but lose the larger battle for influence and respect. Every argument you win can create a silent enemy, subtly plotting your downfall. This law teaches us that true power lies in efficacy and demonstrable success, not in rhetorical prowess. It's about letting your accomplishments do the talking, about presenting the undeniable reality of your results rather than relying on persuasive words. By consistently winning through your actions, you build an unassailable reputation for competence and effectiveness, making arguments utterly superfluous.
So the next time you feel the urge to debate or prove a point verbally, pause and ask yourself, is there an action, a result, or a strategic maneuver that could make my point far more powerfully and without the accompanying resentment?
Chapter 10. Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. As we delve deeper into the intricate web of power, we encounter a law that might seem harsh but is undeniably pragmatic. Law number 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Imagine you are trying to cultivate a thriving garden. You carefully tend to your healthy plants, but then you notice a patch of sickly, diseased growth nearby. If you allowed the disease to spread, it can quickly infect and destroy your entire garden. Robert Greene uses this powerful metaphor to explain the contagious nature of certain human energies and circumstances. This law suggests that unhappiness, misfortune, and negative attitudes are highly contagious. They can drain your energy, infect your mindset, and ultimately pull you down into their orbit. Associating too closely with those who are constantly unlucky or persistently negative can subtly erode your own morale, create obstacles in your path, and even attract similar misfortune to your life. Why is this infection so potent? Emotional contagion. Human beings are highly empathetic. We unconsciously absorb the moods and attitudes of those around us. Constant exposure to negativity can make you feel negative, anxious, or pessimistic yourself. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Unhappy or unlucky people often possess a victim mentality or a self-sabotaging streak. By associating with them, you risk internalizing these patterns of thought and behavior. Time and energy drain. People who are constantly in crisis or perpetually unlucky require immense emotional support and assistance. While compassion is important, a sustained association can drain your resources without providing any reciprocal benefit. Reputational damage. As we learned in Law 5, your reputation is influenced by the company you keep. Being constantly seen with individuals who are perceived as failures or who are surrounded by negativity can subtly tarnish your own image. Consider the example of Emperor Domitian during the Roman Empire. He was known for his paranoia and cruelty. Many who associated closely with him, even those who began with good intentions, found themselves caught in his web of suspicion, fear, and eventually destruction. Their lives became infected by his pathology. Conversely, think of people who seem to radiate positive energy and attract good fortune. By associating with them, you often feel more optimistic, more motivated, and more open to opportunities. Their success seems to rub off on you. How do you apply this law, not cruelly, but strategically? Recognize the patterns. Learn to identify individuals who are consistently unhappy, unlucky, or prone to creating their own misfortunes. This isn't about judging their character, but about observing their consistent patterns of results. Maintain strategic distance. This doesn't mean abandoning friends in need, but it does mean being aware of the boundaries. Limit your exposure to their negativity, especially when you're engaged in important work or pursuing ambitious goals. Surround yourself with the positive. Actively seek out associations with people who are enthusiastic, ambitious, successful, and optimistic. Their energy can be just as contagious as negativity, but in a beneficial way. Protect your mental space. Be mindful of the stories you listen to, the complaints you absorb, and the emotional burdens you allow others to place upon you. Be wary of rescuing. While a helping hand is commendable, consistently trying to fix or rescue chronically unhappy or unlucky individuals can be a bottomless pit that drains your own vitality. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become entangled in the problems and negativity of others, sacrificing your own peace of mind, your forward momentum, and even your opportunities. You risk having your own projects derailed by their crises or your optimism slowly eroded by their pessimism. This law teaches us that power is not just about what you do, but also about the environment you create for yourself. It's about being a conscious steward of your own energy, your own mindset, and your own path to success. By strategically avoiding those who bring you down and actively seeking out those who uplift and inspire, you protect your power, cultivate a positive trajectory, and increase your chances of attracting good fortune. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful act is to carefully choose who you allow into your inner circle.
Chapter 11, Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Let's now explore a cornerstone of long-term influence and security. Law number 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. This law is about establishing your indispensability, ensuring that others need you so profoundly that they cannot afford to see you go. Imagine a critical component in a complex machine. If that component is unique, expertly crafted, and absolutely essential for the machine to function, then its owner holds immense power. Without it, the entire system grinds to a halt. This is the essence of making yourself indispensable. Why is dependence such a powerful tool? It grants security. If people depend on you, they will protect you, promote you, and work to keep you satisfied. Your position becomes secure because your removal would cause too much disruption or loss. It gives you leverage. When others need you, you can make demands, negotiate from a position of strength, and guide events in your favor. It fosters loyalty, of a sort. While not necessarily genuine affection, dependence creates a powerful bond rooted in necessity. Those who need you will be motivated to support you. It elevates your status. Being the sole possessor of a crucial skill, knowledge, or resource automatically elevates your importance and prestige. Consider the historical example of Cardinal Richelieu, chief minister to King Louis XIII of France. Richelieu made himself utterly indispensable to the young king, expertly navigating the treacherous waters of French politics, foreign policy, and internal reform. Louis XIII, though sometimes resentful of Richelieu's power, simply could not function without him. Richelieu had made himself the only one capable of running the state effectively, thus ensuring his power and survival, even when faced with plots against him. Another example can be found in a more modern context. A specialized technician in a company who is the only one who understands an outdated but critical piece of software or machinery. While the company might complain about the old tech, they dare not fire that technician, because doing so would bring operations to a standstill. How do you make yourself indispensable? Develop unique and valuable skills. Become an expert in something that few others can do, or that is critical to the success of your organization or group. Control vital information or resources. Position yourself as the gatekeeper or sole source for information, connections, or assets that others require. Solve problems others can't. Become the go-to person for complex, challenging issues that consistently stump everyone else. Become a master of details and execution. While others focus on grand visions, make yourself the person who can reliably and flawlessly bring those visions to fruition. Make your knowledge proprietary. Don't train others to fully replicate your unique value too quickly. Share enough to keep things running, but retain the critical pieces that make you essential. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become easily replaceable. If your skills are common, your knowledge is widespread, or your contributions are not distinctly vital, you risk being discarded when a more convenient or cheaper alternative emerges. If you teach others everything you know, you can inadvertently make yourself obsolete. This law teaches us that true power often comes from creating a necessary void that only you can fill. It's about strategically cultivating a skill set, a knowledge base, or a network of contacts that makes your presence indispensable to the success and stability of those around you. By making others reliant on you, you not only secure your own position,
but also gain immense leverage to steer events in your desired direction. So reflect on your current role. What unique value do you bring that would make it incredibly difficult for others to function without you? How can you deepen that indispensability?
Chapter 12. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. As we navigate the complex landscape of human interaction, we encounter a law that reveals the cunning use of seemingly virtuous traits. Law number 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. This law is about mastering the art of psychological manipulation by lowering people's defenses. Imagine a predator in the wild. It doesn't always pounce immediately. Sometimes it approaches cautiously, appearing non-threatening, perhaps even offering a seemingly innocuous gesture before striking. This is the strategic power of selective honesty and generosity. In a world full of suspicion, a sudden, unexpected act of openness or kindness can completely disarm a person, making them drop their guard and become vulnerable to your true intentions. Why are honesty and generosity such potent tools for disarming? They create an illusion of trustworthiness. Most people are predisposed to believe good intentions. A surprising act of honesty or generosity bypasses their usual cynicism and makes them think you are different, noble, and reliable. They appeal to basic human instincts. We are wired to respond positively to kindness and truthfulness. These acts trigger feelings of gratitude and reciprocal obligation, making people less likely to scrutinize your motives. They lower defenses. When someone perceives you as honest or generous, they relax. Their guard drops, their critical thinking diminishes, and they become more open to your influence. They buy time and access. A small gift or a seemingly truthful confession can gain you access to people or information that would otherwise be off limits, creating an opportunity for a larger, concealed maneuver. Consider the historical example of Ferdinand of Aragon, one of the most cunning monarchs in history. While ruthless in his pursuit of power, Ferdinand understood the value of appearing pious and trustworthy. He would occasionally offer concessions, appear genuinely concerned for his subjects' welfare, or make seemingly honest declarations to disarm rivals and garner support, only to pursue his true, often ruthless agenda behind this benevolent facade. His selective honesty allowed him to appear less threatening than he truly was, paving the way for his conquests. Another example might be a shrewd negotiator who, at the beginning of a tough negotiation, offers a surprisingly generous concession on a minor point. This unexpected gesture creates goodwill, makes the other party feel obliged, and lowers their guard, making them more amenable to your demands on the major points later. How do you apply this law strategically? Identify your victim. Who do you need to disarm? What are their typical defenses? Choose your moment. The act of honesty or generosity must be unexpected and carefully timed to have maximum impact. It should stand out against a background of typical caution. Make it seem genuine. The act must appear sincere. A contrived gesture will be seen through. Start small and strategic. The honesty doesn't have to be a full confession of all your secrets, but a revelation that appears damaging to you, but isn't, thereby earning trust. The generosity doesn't have to be extravagant, but impactful enough to create a sense of obligation. Follow it swiftly with your true agenda. Once the victim's defenses are lowered, execute your true intentions quickly before they have a chance to reconsider or become suspicious again. The danger of ignoring this law is that you constantly face people with their guard up. Every interaction becomes a battle of wills, and you lose the powerful advantage of psychological surprise. You remain predictable and therefore easier to resist. This law teaches us that power often resides in understanding human psychology, particularly the way people respond to perceived virtue. By strategically deploying acts of selective honesty and generosity, you can bypass skepticism, cultivate trust, and create an opening for your true intentions to unfold. It's about playing the long game, using warmth to melt defenses, and then, only then, making your decisive move. So consider, who needs their guard lowered? And what small, unexpected gesture of honesty or generosity could create the perfect opening for you?
Chapter 13, Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. Let's now explore a fundamental truth about human motivation that is often overlooked in our appeals for assistance. Law number 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. Imagine you need assistance with a challenging project. You could approach someone with a sob story, recounting all the difficulties you faced and hoping they take pity on you. Or you could remind them of a past favor they owe you, hoping they feel obligated. Robert Greene argues that both approaches are profoundly weak and unreliable. Why? Because mercy and gratitude are fleeting, often superficial emotions. People might offer help out of a momentary sense of pity, but their commitment will be shallow, their effort minimal, and their resentment likely to build over time. Gratitude is even more precarious foundation. People often resent being reminded of past debts and will seek to avoid the person they owe. They want to feel good about themselves now, not burdened by past obligations. Self-interest, however, is a deeply ingrained, powerful, and constant motivator. Everyone, at their core, is driven by what benefits them, what advances their goals, what protects their interests, or what enhances their reputation. When you frame your request for help in terms of how they will benefit, you tap into an irresistible force. Consider the historical example of Catherine the Great of Russia. She was a brilliant manipulator who rose to power through a coup. She didn't appeal to the nobility's mercy. She appealed to their desire for stability, their fear of rivals, and their ambition for greater influence. She promised them land, titles, and a voice in government, aligning her rise with their self-interest. They supported her not out of love or pity, but because it served their own strategic goals. Another vivid example comes from the world of business. If you're looking for an investor, you don't go to them saying, "Please, I really need this money to save my struggling startup." Instead, you say, "This is an opportunity for you to achieve significant returns on your investment, tap into a new market, and enhance your portfolio." You show them how your success directly translates into their success. How do you apply this law effectively? Research their needs and desires. Before approaching anyone for help, understand what truly motivates them. What are their goals, their fears, their ambitions, or their current problems? Frame your request as an opportunity for them. Position your need as a chance for them to gain something valuable, a new skill, a powerful contact, enhanced reputation, financial gain, or a solution to their own problem. Emphasize mutual benefit. Show them how helping you will create a win-win scenario, where their effort yields a tangible reward for them. Avoid emotional pleas. Keep sentimentality out of the equation. Focus on logic, practicality, and the clear advantages for the person you're asking. Offer a clear exchange. Make it clear what they will receive in return for their assistance, even if it's not a direct financial transaction, e.g., public recognition, a strategic alliance, valuable experience. The danger of ignoring this law is that your requests will often fall on deaf ears or receive only token, half-hearted assistance. You will be seen as a burden rather than an asset. You risk alienating people by making them feel guilty or indebted, which often leads to resentment and avoidance.
This law teaches us that true leverage in seeking help comes from understanding the fundamental drivers of human action. It's not about exploiting people, but about aligning your needs with their motivations. By tapping into their self-interest, you ensure that their commitment is strong, their efforts are genuine, and the help you receive is effective. So, the next time you need assistance, pause and ask yourself, what can I offer this person that genuinely appeals to their desires rather than merely relying on their fleeting kindness? Chapter 14. Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Let's now enter the shadowy world of intelligence gathering, a realm where appearances are deceiving and information is the ultimate weapon. Law number 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. This law reveals the strategic power of covert observation and the psychological advantage of gathering intelligence while appearing harmless. Imagine a detective investigating a crime. They don't typically burst in, demanding answers. Instead, they might adopt a friendly demeanor, engage in casual conversation, and slowly piece together information without ever revealing their true purpose. This is the essence of posing as a friend while working as a spy. In the game of power, information is currency. The more you know about others, their strengths, weaknesses, intentions, and secrets, the better equipped you are to anticipate their moves, exploit their vulnerabilities, and achieve your own objectives. Why is this dual role so effective? It lowers defenses. People are far more likely to reveal intimate details, unconscious habits, and true feelings to someone they perceive as a friend or a harmless acquaintance. Suspicion is naturally lowered. It grants access. A friendly facade can open doors to circles and conversations that would otherwise be closed off to an overt inquisitor. It allows for covert observation. While others are enjoying your company, you are silently analyzing, listening for subtle cues, noting patterns of behavior, and piecing together a comprehensive picture. It keeps your own intentions hidden. While you are learning about them, they are learning little about you, maintaining your strategic advantage of concealed intentions. Law 3. Consider the historical example of Joseph Fouché, Napoleon's Minister of Police. Fouché was a master of intelligence gathering. He cultivated a vast network of informers, some of whom believed they were simply his confidants or friends, while he was meticulously collecting information on everyone, including Napoleon himself. He knew the secrets of the court, the conspiracies brewing, and the true loyalties of various factions. This deep understanding of the inner workings of power made him indispensable and gave him immense leverage. Another example might be a shrewd business competitor who attends industry events, appearing friendly and open, engaging in casual conversation. While ostensibly networking, they are carefully listening to gossip, observing subtle tensions between rivals, and noting any hints about upcoming product launches or strategic shifts. They are collecting valuable market intelligence under the guise of collegiality. How do you apply this law? Ethically and in a way that aligns with your values? Cultivate a friendly, approachable demeanor. Make people feel comfortable and at ease in your presence. Be a good listener. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage others to talk about themselves, their work, their challenges, and their opinions. Use active listening to draw them out. Observe body language and subtle cues. Pay attention not just to what people say, but how they say it, what they don't say, and their nonverbal signals. Listen for contradictions and inconsistencies. These can reveal hidden agendas or areas of vulnerability. Build a network of casual informants, people who in their everyday interactions can provide you with snippets of information without even realizing they are doing so. Maintain emotional detachment. While appearing friendly, your purpose is strategic information gathering. The danger of ignoring this law is that you operate in the dark. You are susceptible to surprises, blindsided by others' moves, and unable to make truly informed decisions. Without adequate intelligence, you are always playing catch-up, reacting, rather than strategically planning. This law teaches us that power is inherently about knowledge, and the most valuable knowledge is often gleaned through subtle, covert means. By mastering the art of friendly observation, by becoming a silent gatherer of intelligence, you equip yourself with the foresight and understanding needed to navigate the complex social and professional landscape effectively. It's about being the quiet strategist, always learning, always observing, and always prepared. So consider, how can you refine your listening skills and observational prowess to better understand the true dynamics at play around you?
Chapter 15, Law 15, Crush Your Enemy Totally. We now arrive at one of the most stark and uncompromising laws in Green's collection. Law number 15, Crush Your Enemy Totally. This law speaks to the ruthless logic of warfare and power, advocating for a complete and decisive victory when conflict is inevitable. Imagine two armies clashing. If one army merely wounds or disperses the other, leaving them to regroup and return stronger, what has truly been achieved? The threat remains, perhaps even intensified by a desire for revenge. Robert Greene argues that in the realm of power, a partial victory is often worse than no victory at all. When you choose to engage an enemy, you must commit to their complete annihilation, metaphorically speaking, to ensure they can never rise again to threaten you. Why is total crushing so crucial? Prevents retaliation. A half-crushed enemy harbors resentment and will seek revenge. A completely crushed enemy is neutralized and can no longer pose a threat. Instills fear and deters others. A decisive, overwhelming victory sends a powerful message to potential future adversaries, making them think twice before challenging you. Secures your position. By eliminating the threat entirely, you remove a significant source of instability and secure your power for the long term. Conserves resources. Prolonged conflict with back-and-forth skirmishes drains resources. A swift, total victory, though seemingly brutal, can be more efficient in the long run. Consider the historical example of Alexander the Great. When he conquered a territory, he did so decisively. He often burned cities to the ground, executed rival leaders, and assimilated the population, ensuring that there was no organized resistance left to challenge his rule. His victories were so complete that they became legendary, further cementing his aura of invincibility. Another example is the Roman practice of salted earth after defeating powerful enemies like Carthage. By not just conquering, but utterly destroying their cities and sowing salt in their fields, they ensured that Carthage could never again rise to challenge Roman dominance. While extreme, it perfectly illustrates the principle of total neutralization. How do you apply this law, again often metaphorically, in the modern context? Choose your battles carefully. This law does not advocate for constant conflict. It advises that if you must enter a conflict, be prepared to go all the way. Avoid petty skirmishes. Commit fully. Once you decide to engage an enemy, a competitor, a rival, an opposing idea, dedicate all necessary resources to ensure a comprehensive victory. Go for the jugular. Identify your enemy's source of power, their reputation, their resources, or their allies, and target those directly to dismantle their ability to fight back. Leave no room for comeback. Don't just win a small victory. Ensure that your opponent's ability to challenge you in the future is severely, if not permanently, curtailed. This could mean acquiring their assets, discrediting their name, or making their supporters lose faith. Be swift and decisive. A prolonged struggle allows an enemy to adapt and regroup.
Act quickly and with overwhelming force to end the conflict on your terms. The danger of ignoring this law is that you leave yourself vulnerable to future attacks. A wounded enemy is a dangerous enemy, often more determined and cunning in their quest for revenge. Partial victories lead to ongoing skirmishes, resource drain, and a constant state of insecurity. This law teaches us that, in the world of power, calculated ruthlessness can sometimes be a necessary virtue. It's about understanding the finality required to secure your position and prevent future threats. It reminds us that if you are going to pick a fight, you must be prepared to win it decisively, leaving no lingering doubt or potential for resurgence. It's a stark reminder that true power often demands a complete and utter triumph over opposition. So if you find yourself in a genuine conflict, ask yourself, am I truly committing to a victory that leaves no room for my opponent to ever challenge me again?
Chapter 16, Law 16. Use absence and scarcity to increase respect and honor. Let's shift our focus to a law that delves into the psychology of desire and perceived value. Law number 16. Use absence and scarcity to increase respect and honor. This law reveals how strategically withdrawing or making yourself less available can dramatically enhance your allure, status, and power. Imagine a precious gem. Its value is not just in its beauty, but in its rarity. If diamonds were as common as pebbles, they would hold far less prestige. The same principle applies to human presence and attention. When something or someone is always available, always present, always eager, they inevitably lose some of their luster and perceived value. Why does absence and scarcity enhance respect and honor? It creates mystery and allure. When you are not always accessible, people begin to wonder about you. What are you doing? Why are you unavailable? This mystery makes you more intriguing and desirable. It signals importance. If you are too busy or too in demand to be constantly available, it implies that your time is valuable, your responsibilities are significant, and you are a person of importance. It prevents overexposure. Too much familiarity can breed contempt. Constant presence can make people take you for granted or even grow bored of you. Scarcity keeps your image fresh and prevents your energy from being diluted. It makes your presence more impactful. When you do appear after a period of absence, your arrival is noticed, celebrated, and carries more weight. Your words and actions are given greater attention. It controls the flow of attention. By strategically withdrawing, you force others to seek you out, thus putting you in a position of control. Referring to Law 8, make others come to you. Consider the historical example of court figures who understood this. A monarch might, after a period of constant public appearances, withdraw for a time, only to return with even greater fanfare and renewed adoration from their subjects. The brief absence intensified the public's desire to see them, and their return was greeted with greater enthusiasm. In a more personal context, think of how a slightly mysterious or elusive person in a social setting can often be more intriguing and attractive than someone who is constantly seeking attention. How do you apply this law? Withdraw at the peak. Don't wait until people are tired of you. Step back when your popularity is high, leaving them wanting more. Cultivate an air of busyness. Make it known that your time is valuable and that you have many demands on your attention. This suggests importance without being overtly arrogant. Limit access. Don't be available to everyone at all times. Create barriers, even subtle ones, that make it clear that your time and attention are a privilege, not a right. Be selective in your appearances. Choose carefully where and when you make public appearances or engage in social interactions. Make each appearance count. Master the art of the brief exit.
In conversations or social gatherings, sometimes a strategic, graceful exit can leave a more powerful impression than prolonged stay. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become too common, too predictable, and too easily dismissed. Your constant presence can lead to familiarity breeding contempt, and your words losing their impact. You risk exhausting your charm and charisma through overexposure. This law teaches us that power is not just about presence, but about strategic absence. It's about understanding the psychology of desire and leveraging it to your advantage. By controlling your availability, by creating an aura of scarcity around your person, you enhance your perceived value, cultivate respect, and ensure that when you do choose to engage, your presence is honored and your influence magnified. So consider, how can you strategically dial back your availability or presence to reignite interest and deepen the respect others have for you?
Chapter 17. Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Let's now delve into a law that speaks to the unsettling power of uncertainty and the psychological advantage of keeping others off balance. Law number 17, keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Imagine trying to fight an opponent whose moves are completely random and illogical. You can't anticipate their next punch, you can't predict their strategy, and you're constantly on edge, reacting rather than planning. This state of constant apprehension is the suspended terror that unpredictability can create. When your actions are consistently predictable, others can easily anticipate your moves, prepare counter-strategies, and ultimately control you. But when you are unpredictable, you sow confusion, instill fear, and force your adversaries to constantly guess, draining their energy and giving you the psychological upper hand. Why is unpredictability such a potent tool? It creates fear and respect. The unknown is inherently frightening. People respect those they cannot read, as it suggests a depth and cunning that is hard to counter. It keeps opponents off balance. If your enemies can't predict your next move, they can't strategize effectively. They waste energy trying to decipher you, leaving them vulnerable. It maintains the initiative. By being unpredictable, you force others to react to you, rather than you reacting to them. You control the rhythm of the engagement. It attracts attention. As we saw in Law 6, anything out of the ordinary commands attention. Unpredictable behavior makes you memorable and noteworthy. Consider the historical example of Mao Zedong. He often employed unpredictable tactics, both militarily and politically. He would make seemingly illogical alliances, launch surprise attacks, and shift his ideological positions, keeping both his allies and enemies guessing. This unpredictability, while sometimes chaotic, prevented his opponents from ever fully understanding or containing him, allowing him to maintain control and achieve his revolutionary goals. Another example might be a boss who is sometimes charming and generous, and other times cold and demanding, with no apparent pattern. Employees under such a boss are constantly on edge, trying to interpret their mood, and are less likely to challenge them, fearing an unknown backlash. This isn't necessarily a benevolent application, but it demonstrates the power dynamic. How do you cultivate an air of unpredictability? Vary your patterns. If you usually respond quickly, sometimes delay. If you're typically serious, inject humor. If you're known for a specific strategy, try a completely different one. Act out of character. Occasionally do something that seems to contradict your established persona or previous actions. This sows confusion. Employ misdirection. Make others think you're going one way, then suddenly pivot. This can be done in conversation, in strategy, or in negotiation. Avoid establishing routines.
If your actions become too routine, you become too easy to read. Keep your daily rhythms and strategic approaches varied. Use calculated irrationality. Sometimes a seemingly irrational outburst or decision can throw others into a spiral of doubt and confusion, forcing them to reassess their understanding of you. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become a predictable open book. Others will easily anticipate your reactions, exploit your habits, and manipulate you. You lose the element of surprise, which is a critical advantage in any power struggle. This law teaches us that power is not always about consistent rationality, but sometimes about strategic disruption. It's about understanding that a degree of calculated chaos can be a powerful deterrent and a way to maintain control. By cultivating an air of unpredictability, you keep others guessing, instill a healthy dose of apprehension, and ensure that your presence always commands respect and careful consideration. So reflect, are you too predictable? How can you subtly break your patterns to keep others respectfully on their toes, never quite sure what your next move will be?
Chapter 18. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Let's now turn to a law that counters a very natural human impulse to retreat into a protected space when facing threats. Law number 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. This law argues that attempts to isolate yourself from threats often make you more vulnerable, not less. Imagine a king who, fearing plots and rebellions, retreats into an impregnable fortress, cutting himself off from his subjects, his advisors, and the outside world. While he might feel physically safe, what happens to his power? He loses touch with reality, becomes unaware of genuine threats. His influence wanes, and he becomes an easy target for those who operate in the open, gathering information and building alliances. Why is isolation so dangerous? You lose vital information. Cut off from the outside, you become ignorant of shifting trends, new threats, and evolving opportunities. You operate in a vacuum, making blind decisions. You become an easy target. Predators stalk isolated prey. An isolated individual or entity lacks the network of support, information, and alliances that provides true security. You weaken your influence. Power thrives on connection and interaction. When you isolate yourself, your ability to influence others diminishes. Your commands become mere whispers without the force of a supporting network. It fosters paranoia and delusion. Without external feedback, it's easy to become paranoid, suspicious, and lose touch with reality, believing only what you want to believe. This leads to poor judgment. You become vulnerable to internal plots. If you're isolated from external threats, internal factions can more easily conspire against you without your knowledge. Consider the historical example of the Chinese emperors, who, particularly in later dynasties, retreated further and further into the Forbidden City, surrounded by eunuchs and courtiers, losing touch with the common people and the true state of their vast empire. While protected by massive walls, this isolation often led to their downfall, as rebellions simmered outside and corrupt officials manipulated them from within. Conversely, a powerful leader like Julius Caesar understood the importance of being among his soldiers, listening to their grievances and understanding the pulse of his empire. He was constantly engaged, constantly receiving feedback, and constantly building alliances. His strength came from his network and his awareness, not from physical barriers. How do you apply this law? Maintain active networks. Continuously build and nurture a diverse network of contacts, advisors, and allies from different spheres of influence. Stay informed. Actively seek out information, even dissenting opinions. Be open to feedback, criticism, and news from various sources, even if it's uncomfortable. Be accessible strategically. While not completely open, referencing Law 16, maintain strategic points of access for crucial information and key individuals. Engage with the outside. Don't just rely on internal reporting. Periodically step outside your immediate circle to get a fresh perspective and understand the wider landscape. Build alliances, not just defenses. True protection comes from a web of relationships and mutual interests, not just from physical or metaphorical walls. The danger of ignoring this law is that your perceived security becomes a delusion. You become blind to the real threats, unable to adapt, and ultimately an easy target for those who are actively engaged with the world. Isolation might feel safe in the short term, but it is a path to irrelevance and ultimate destruction in the long run. This law teaches us that true power and security come from engagement, awareness, and connection. It's about understanding that while privacy has its place, complete isolation severs the very lifelines that nourish power. By remaining connected, informed, and actively engaged with the world around you, you build a far more resilient position than any fortress could ever provide. So reflect. Are you inadvertently creating a fortress around yourself? How can you strategically open yourself up to vital information and crucial connections to enhance your power and security?
Chapter 19. Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. This law highlights the absolute necessity of understanding the true nature, influence, and potential for retaliation of every individual you encounter. Imagine walking into a dense forest. Some animals are harmless, others are easily spooked, but a few are predators, capable of immense damage if provoked. If you treat every creature the same, you risk a deadly encounter. In the world of power, people are not created equal in their ability to harm or help you. Some are inconsequential, some are easily manipulated, but a select few possess hidden influence, a powerful network, or a vengeful streak that makes offending them a catastrophic mistake. Why is this knowledge so critical? To avoid unforeseen backlash. The wrong person might appear harmless on the surface, but they could have powerful connections, a long memory, or a surprising capacity for revenge that can derail your plans. To identify true sources of power. Not all power is overt. Some individuals wield influence through networks, information, or their ability to manipulate others behind the scenes. Offending them is like kicking a hornet's nest you didn't know existed. To choose your battles wisely. Knowing who you're dealing with allows you to pick your enemies strategically and avoid unnecessary conflict with those who are too powerful, too vindictive, or too well connected. To tailor your approach. Once you understand a person's character, vulnerabilities, and motivations, you can adjust your tactics to either charm them, neutralize them, or avoid them altogether. Consider the historical example of the Roman triumvirate, Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. They understood that to achieve their goals, they had to deal with each other according to their specific strengths and weaknesses. Caesar knew not to openly offend Pompey's military prestige initially, but rather to subtly undermine it. Conversely, a general who offended a seemingly minor senator might find himself facing unexpected opposition due to that senator's family connections or influence within the Senate. Another classic example is when someone dismisses or disrespects a seemingly low-level administrative assistant, only to discover that this assistant is fiercely loyal to their powerful boss and controls access, information, and scheduling, effectively becoming a gatekeeper who can quietly sabotage their efforts. How do you apply this law? Study people meticulously.
Observe their behavior. Listen to how others talk about them, and pay attention to their past actions. What kind of reputation do they have? Who are their friends and enemies? Law 2. Look beyond appearances. Don't be fooled by humble demeanor or lack of overt status. True power can be hidden. Gauge their potential for revenge. Some people forgive and forget. Others nurse grudges for years and will wait for the perfect moment to retaliate. Identify the latter. Understand their network. Who do they know? Who supports them? What resources can they call upon? Test the waters carefully. If you are unsure about someone's character or influence, make small, cautious moves to gauge their reaction before committing to a larger interaction. Err on the side of caution. In doubt, treat everyone with a degree of respect and circumspection, especially when initiating interaction or making a demand. The danger of ignoring this law is that you act blindly, provoking unforeseen enemies and creating unnecessary obstacles. You might unintentionally offend someone who has the power to destroy your reputation, sabotage your projects, or even end your career, simply because you underestimated their influence or their capacity for vengeance. This law teaches us that power is not about indiscriminately attacking everyone, but about strategic navigation of the social landscape. It's about developing a keen sense of human psychology and influence, understanding that every person carries a unique potential for both help and harm. By carefully assessing who you are dealing with, you minimize risk, maximize opportunity, and ensure that your actions are always calibrated for the greatest strategic effect. So before you utter a critical word or make a bold move, pause and ask, do I truly know who I am dealing with, and what might be the hidden consequences of my actions?
Chapter 20. Law 20. Do not commit to anyone. Let's now explore a law that emphasizes flexibility, independence, and the strategic advantage of remaining unattached. Law number 20. Do not commit to anyone. This law advises against binding yourself too tightly to any single cause, person, or side, thereby preserving your freedom of action and maximizing your options. Imagine a tightrope walker. If they are tied to one side of the rope, they lose their balance, their agility, and their ability to adjust to the changing conditions. But if they remain uncommitted to either side, they can move freely, adapt to any shift, and maintain their equilibrium. In the realm of power, commitment, while often lauded as a virtue, can be a profound vulnerability. When you commit, you limit your options, you inherit the enemies and problems of your allies, and you sacrifice your independence. Why is non-commitment so powerful? It maintains your independence. You are free to act in your own best interest without being bound by the dictates or needs of others. It keeps others competing for you. If you are uncommitted, various factions or individuals will vie for your support, giving you leverage and allowing you to choose the most advantageous alliance. It fosters an aura of impartiality and objectivity. If you don't take sides, you can often be seen as a neutral arbitrator or a wise counsel, making you sought after for advice and mediation. It allows for strategic pivots. The landscape of power is constantly shifting. Non-commitment allows you to quickly adapt to new circumstances, abandoning losing causes and aligning with emerging winners without penalty. You avoid inheriting others' problems. When you commit to a side, you inevitably take on their baggage, their enemies, and their ongoing struggles. Remaining uncommitted allows you to selectively engage without full absorption. Consider the historical example of Queen Elizabeth I. She famously remained unmarried throughout her reign, skillfully playing various European powers against each other. By not committing to a marriage with a French prince, a Spanish king, or an English nobleman, she retained her autonomy, prevented England from being drawn into foreign wars on a spouse's behalf, and kept powerful suitors constantly seeking her favor.
Her uncommitted status was a cornerstone of her political power. Another example might be a talented consultant who avoids becoming exclusive to one company. By remaining independent, they can work with multiple clients, cherry-picking the most interesting or lucrative projects, and are constantly in demand, rather than being confined to the internal politics and limited opportunities of a single organization. How do you apply this law? Maintain a degree of distance. While forming alliances, Law 28, ensure you retain a strategic distance that allows for independent thought and action. Avoid taking sides too early. In conflicts or debates between others, observe, listen, and gather information before publicly aligning yourself. Be flexible in your loyalties, discreetly. While appearing supportive, always keep an eye on your own long-term interests and be prepared to shift your allegiance if circumstances demand it. Cultivate an air of being in demand. Your non-commitment should be perceived as a sign of your value and the fact that many seek your support rather than a lack of loyalty. Offer limited strategic support. Provide just enough help to keep potential allies interested, but never so much that you become fully entangled in their fate. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become a pawn in others' games. You lose your freedom, your autonomy, and your ability to adapt. You risk being dragged down by failing alliances or becoming irrelevant when your chosen side loses power. Commitment, while sometimes necessary, should always be a calculated and temporary maneuver, never an absolute binding. This law teaches us that true power lies in freedom of movement and strategic independence. It's about understanding that the most influential players are often those who remain unbound, free to choose their alignments as opportunities arise. By mastering the art of non-commitment, you position yourself as a valuable asset that others must actively court, giving you the ultimate leverage to shape your own destiny. So reflect. Are there commitments you've made that are now limiting your options or dragging you down? How can you subtly loosen those ties to regain your strategic freedom?
Chapter 21. Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. This law is about disarming others by making them feel superior, leading them to drop their guard and reveal their true intentions or weaknesses. Imagine a wolf in sheep's clothing. It doesn't flaunt its predatory nature. It adopts a harmless disguise to get close to its prey. In a game of power, people love to feel intelligent, superior, and in control. If you make them feel this way by feigning ignorance, naivete, or a lack of sophistication, they will underestimate you, become complacent, and often reveal their secrets or fall into traps they would otherwise avoid. Why is appearing dumber so effective? It lowers their guard. If someone believes you are less intelligent or less experienced, they will relax their defenses, speak more freely, and assume you pose no threat. It boosts their ego. People love to demonstrate their superior knowledge or wisdom. By allowing them to do so, you gain their trust and often their cooperation. It facilitates information gathering. When people feel superior, they are more likely to condescend, explain, and reveal details they might otherwise keep private. Law 14. It allows you to observe and plan. While they are busy performing their intellectual superiority, you are silently observing, analyzing, and formulating your strategy. It sets the stage for a surprise attack. When they least expect it, you can strike with your true intelligence and capabilities, catching them completely off guard. Consider the historical example of Lorenzo de' Medici, the Magnificent. He was a brilliant politician and patron of the arts, but he often cultivated an image of a pleasure-loving, somewhat naive banker, more interested in festivities than serious governance. This facade made his rivals underestimate his strategic genius, allowing him to outmaneuver them time and again and consolidate his power in Florence.
They saw him as a sucker enjoying life, while he was quietly playing a deeper game. Another example might be a shrewd poker player who early in the game makes a few seemingly foolish bets or plays, convincing opponents that they are an amateur. This lulls the others into a false sense of security, making them overconfident and more likely to take risks, only for the sucker to reveal their true skill and clean up in later rounds. How do you apply this law? Ask naive questions. Pose questions that make you seem less informed, prompting others to launch into explanations that reveal their knowledge, assumptions, or biases. Feigned incompetence. Occasionally make a minor, non-critical mistake that makes you seem a little clumsy or less capable than you are. This lowers expectations. Allow them to teach you. Encourage others to impart their wisdom or expertise. Listen attentively. Absorb the information and make them feel important in the process. Play down your achievements. While selectively cultivating reputation, Law 5, in specific interactions, downplay your own intelligence or accomplishments to avoid intimidating others. Use humor or self-deprecation. A well-timed joke about your own shortcomings can be a powerful way to make others feel comfortable and superior. So the next time you're in an important interaction, ask yourself, how can I make this person feel a little smarter than me, and what insights might they reveal in the process?
Chapter 22. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. We now turn to a profound law that challenges conventional notions of strength and victory. Law number 22 is use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. This law reveals how sometimes the most powerful move you can make when facing overwhelming force is not to fight, but to strategically yield. Imagine a martial artist who, instead of meeting an opponent's powerful punch with brute force, fluidly redirects its energy, using the attacker's own momentum against them. This is the essence of the surrender tactic. When you are clearly outmatched, a direct confrontation is suicidal. By strategically surrendering, appearing to give in, conceding minor points, or even aligning yourself with a stronger power, you can disarm your opponent, gain time, avoid total destruction, and often position yourself to rise again when their guard is down. Why is the surrender tactic so powerful? It disarms the aggressor. A victor expects resistance. When you offer none, it can confuse them, make them feel magnanimous, and lower their guard. They might view you as no longer a threat. It buys time. Surrender allows you to survive to fight another day. While your opponent believes they have won, you can use the time to regroup, gather resources, build new alliances, or wait for their power to wane. It transforms you from enemy to subordinate, temporarily. Instead of being an open foe, you become a seemingly loyal subordinate. This provides a cover for observation, Law 14, and subtle maneuvering from within. It avoids unnecessary destruction. A full-blown battle can be costly even for the victor. Strategic surrender minimizes your losses and preserves your resources. It allows you to exploit their overconfidence. Victors often become complacent and arrogant. A defeated foe, subtly working from within, can then exploit these weaknesses. Consider the historical example of the ancient Chinese state of Guzhen. After a devastating defeat by the state of Wu, Guzhen, its king, offered to become a servant to the king of Wu. He endured years of humiliation, working as a stable boy, appearing utterly broken. The king of Wu, arrogant in his victory, relaxed his vigilance. Guzhen, however, secretly trained his army, rebuilt his state's economy, and waited for the perfect moment. Years later, when Wu was weakened by internal strife and other wars, Guzhen launched a surprise attack and utterly defeated Wu,
taking his revenge. His strategic surrender transformed utter defeat into ultimate triumph. Another example might be a company facing a hostile takeover by a much larger corporation. Instead of fighting a losing battle, they might surrender and agree to the acquisition, but subtly negotiate for key positions within the new structure or for control over specific product lines, allowing them to rebuild their influence from within the larger entity. How do you apply this law? Recognize when you are truly outmatched. This is crucial. Don't surrender prematurely, but don't fight a battle you cannot win. Make the surrender appear genuine and complete. Your opponent must believe they have achieved a total victory and that you are no longer a threat. Be patient. The true power of this tactic lies in the long game. You must be willing to bide your time, endure temporary humiliation, and wait for the opportune moment. Observe and learn from your victor. Use your position of apparent submission to gather intelligence on your opponent's weaknesses, internal dynamics, and future plans. Maintain your core strength in secret. While appearing defeated, covertly work to rebuild your resources, skills, or network, preparing for your resurgence. The danger of ignoring this law is that you meet total destruction when a strategic retreat could have preserved your future. Stubborn resistance against overwhelming odds is often a sign of pride, not power. You risk losing everything when a temporary concession could have allowed you to survive and ultimately prevail. This law teaches us that power is not always about brute force, but about supreme adaptability and cunning. It's about understanding that weakness can be a disguise and apparent submission a profound strategic move. By mastering the art of strategic surrender, you transform imminent defeat into a calculated pause, a period of rebuilding, and ultimately a powerful path to reversal and ultimate victory. So when facing an insurmountable challenge, ask yourself, is there a way to seemingly yield now, only to gain a more powerful position for the future?
Chapter 23, Law 23. Concentrate your forces. Let's now explore a fundamental law of strategy, applicable in virtually every arena of life, from warfare to business. Law number 23. Concentrate your forces. This law emphasizes the critical importance of focusing your resources, energy, and attention on a single vital objective to achieve overwhelming impact. Imagine trying to chop down a tree with 1,000 small hacks spread across its trunk. It would take an enormous amount of time and effort, and might not even succeed. But if you concentrate all your force, all your swings in a single well-aimed spot, the tree will fall much faster and more efficiently. In the pursuit of power, diffusing your efforts across too many goals, projects, or adversaries dilutes your impact and leads to mediocrity or failure. Concentration, however, allows you to achieve decisive victories. Why is concentration so powerful? It creates overwhelming force. By directing all your energy and resources to one point, you can achieve a level of intensity that cannot be resisted. It minimizes waste. Spreading your efforts thinly means a little progress everywhere, but often no decisive breakthrough anywhere. Concentration maximizes the return on your investment. It generates momentum. Once you start achieving results in one concentrated area, it builds confidence, attracts support, and creates a snowball effect that propels you forward. It prevents distraction. A clear, focused objective helps you filter out irrelevant demands and temptations, keeping you on track. It simplifies strategy. With a single clear target, your tactical decisions become more straightforward and less confusing. Consider the historical example of Napoleon Bonaparte. One of his core military principles was concentration of force. Instead of spreading his army thinly across a wide front, he would swiftly concentrate overwhelming numbers at a single critical point on the enemy's line, break through, and then roll up the flanks. This relentless focus on a decisive point often led to spectacular victories against numerically superior foes. In business, think of a startup that tries to be all things to all people. They build a mediocre product for a vague market and fail. Conversely, a highly successful startup often starts by concentrating all its resources on solving one specific problem for one specific niche market. Once they dominate that niche, they can then expand, but the initial victory came from intense concentration. How do you apply this law? Identify your single most important objective. What is the one thing that, if achieved, would have the greatest impact on your power or your overall goals? Eliminate distractions. Ruthlessly cut out projects, commitments, or activities that do not directly contribute to your primary objective. Direct all resources. Allocate your time, money, personnel, and mental energy exclusively to that single goal. Be patient but persistent. While concentration allows for decisive action, it also requires persistence. Keep pushing on that one point until it yields. Avoid multitasking on core objectives. While some degree of background multitasking is unavoidable, for your most critical goals, dedicate focused, uninterrupted attention. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become perpetually scattered, perpetually busy, but never truly effective. You deplete your energy without achieving anything truly significant, and you remain vulnerable to others who do concentrate their forces. A scattered effort is a weak effort. This law teaches us that true power does not come from doing many things adequately, but from doing one thing exceptionally well and with overwhelming force. It's about understanding that strength comes from focus and victory from decisive impact. By concentrating your forces, you turn your efforts into a laser beam, cutting through resistance and achieving profound results. So, reflect. Are your efforts scattered or are they aimed at a single critical target? How can you gather all your available power and direct it with unwavering focus?
Chapter 24. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. We now turn to a law that delves into the subtle but profound art of navigating hierarchical structures and influencing those in power. Law number 24. Play the perfect courtier. This law speaks to the importance of mastering social graces, political maneuvering, and understanding the unwritten rules of the court, whether that court is a king's palace or a modern corporation. Imagine a highly skilled chess player. They don't just know the rules of how the pieces move, they understand the nuances of strategy, anticipation, and psychological warfare. In any organization, there are overt rules and structures, but there is also an invisible court, a social hierarchy, a web of alliances, unspoken customs and preferred behaviors that dictate who rises and who falls. The perfect courtier is a master of this invisible game. Why is playing the perfect courtier so powerful? It gains favor with superiors. By understanding their preferences, subtly flattering them, and anticipating their needs, you become indispensable and trusted. It neutralizes rivals. The courtier knows how to subtly undermine opponents, spread rumors, or make them appear unfavorably without direct confrontation. It builds a network of allies. Through social acumen and strategic generosity, the courtier cultivates relationships that provide support and information. It provides access to power. Mastering the court allows you to navigate its complexities and gain access to decision-makers and vital information. It protects you from enemies. The perfect courtier is so skilled at adapting and maneuvering that they are rarely caught in direct political crossfire. Consider the historical example of Queen Catherine de' Medici in 16th century France.
Though often an outsider, she masterfully navigated the treacherous French court for decades. She understood the power of appearance, the necessity of flattery, the art of strategic alliances, and the crucial timing of her moves. She became a silent force behind the throne by playing the perfect courtier, adapting to changing monarchs and political factions, always ensuring her family's and her own survival and influence. In a modern corporate setting, the perfect courtier isn't necessarily the person with the most overt talent, but the one who understands the CEO's unspoken desires, navigates office politics with grace, knows which meetings to attend, and how to subtly make others look good or bad without direct conflict. They know how to present ideas in a way that aligns with the boss's vision, and how to subtly take credit, Law 7, for collective successes. How do you play the perfect courtier? Master appearances. Always look presentable, behave with decorum, and project an image of competence and confidence. Laws 6 and Law 5. Practice subtle flattery. Compliment superiors on their wisdom, foresight, or unique abilities, but do so genuinely and without obvious sycophancy. Never openly criticize superiors. Any criticism should be framed as a constructive suggestion or a solution to a problem, always deferring to their ultimate authority. Law 1. Be a bearer of good news. Always try to be the one who delivers positive reports, even if you weren't directly responsible for the success. Cultivate informal networks. Befriend subordinates, administrative staff, and other key gatekeepers who can provide valuable information. Law 14. Avoid gossip, publicly. While gathering information, never engage in overt gossip that could be traced back to you. Maintain an aura of discretion. Know when to withdraw, Law 16, and when to appear, Law 6. Understand the rhythms of the court and your own strategic visibility. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become a political outcast, unable to navigate the social currents of your environment. Your efforts might be unrecognized, your good intentions misinterpreted, and your progress stifled by rivals who are more skilled in the art of the court. Talent alone is rarely enough. You must also master the unspoken rules of influence.
Chapter 25. Law 25. Recreate yourself. We arrive at a profound and liberating law that empowers you to shed limitations and constantly evolve. Law number 25. Recreate yourself. This law asserts that you are not bound by your past, your circumstances, or others' perceptions. You have the power to consciously forge a new identity, a more powerful and compelling persona, and to live out the role you desire. Imagine an actor stepping onto a stage. They are not merely reciting lines, they are embodying a character, complete with mannerisms, voice, and motivations. The audience believes in the character, even though they know it's a performance. In the game of power, life itself is a stage, and you are both the actor and the playwright. If you allow others to define you, to limit you based on their expectations or your past mistakes, you surrender immense power. By consciously recreating yourself, you take control of your narrative and shape your destiny. Why is recreating yourself so powerful? It breaks free from the past. It allows you to shed negative reputations, overcome past failures, and escape the limitations imposed by your background or upbringing. It adapts to new circumstances. As the world changes, so too must you. Recreation allows you to remain relevant, effective, and powerful in evolving environments. It captures imagination.
A person who undergoes a dramatic transformation, who constantly reinvents themselves, is intriguing, charismatic, and memorable. Law number 6. It keeps enemies guessing. If you are constantly shifting your persona or capabilities, enemies cannot pin you down or predict your next move. Law number 17. It empowers self-belief. The act of conscious self-creation strengthens your own sense of agency and purpose, fostering immense self-confidence. Consider the historical example of Benjamin Disraeli, the 19th century British Prime Minister. He came from a humble background, was of Jewish descent, which was a disadvantage in aristocratic England, and had a flamboyant, even scandalous early career. He was often mocked and underestimated. Yet through sheer force of will, political genius, and a conscious effort to cultivate a new, more serious and strategically brilliant persona, he completely reinvented himself, rose through the ranks of the Conservative Party, and became one of Britain's most successful prime ministers. He literally recreated his public image and capabilities. Another example might be an artist who constantly experiments with new styles and forms, refusing to be pigeonholed. By recreating their artistic identity, they stay fresh, relevant, and continue to captivate their audience. How do you recreate yourself? Identify the ideal persona. What qualities, skills, and reputation do you aspire to possess? What role do you want to play? Study your chosen model. If you admire a particular historical figure or archetype, study their actions, their appearance, and their mannerisms. Work on your outer appearance. Dress the part. Groom yourself appropriately, and carry yourself with the posture and confidence of your desired persona. Master your mannerisms and speech. Adopt the tone, vocabulary, and body language that align with your new identity. Practice until it feels natural. Seek out new experiences and knowledge. Acquire the skills and information necessary to support your new role. Control your narrative. Actively shape how others perceive you through your actions, words, and associations. Law number 5. Law number 6. The danger of ignoring this law is that you remain trapped by the inertia of your past, limited by others' expectations, and unable to adapt to new challenges. You become predictable, stale, and ultimately powerless in a world that constantly demands evolution. This law teaches us that power is not a fixed state, but a dynamic process of continuous evolution and conscious self-mastery. It's about understanding that your identity is a fluid construct, and you possess the agency to sculpt it into a magnificent work of art. By consistently recreating yourself, you remain eternally fresh, relevant, and in control of your own narrative, becoming a living testament to the power of transformation. So reflect. What limitations are you carrying from your past? What powerful, compelling persona could you consciously create for your future? And what steps will you take to embody it?
Chapter 26. Law 26. Keep your hands clean. Narrator, let's now explore a crucial law that speaks to the delicate art of managing perception and maintaining a pristine image, even when engaged in morally ambiguous actions. Law number 26. Keep your hands clean. This law advises that while you may need to engage in unsavory tactics to achieve your goals, you must always ensure that the public perceives you as virtuous, trustworthy, and honorable, above reproach. Imagine a skilled surgeon performing a complex operation. They might make incisions, remove organs, and deal with blood, but they do so with sterile instruments and a calm, detached professionalism. The patient sees the outcome, healing, not the messy details. In the game of power, people are quick to judge and condemn. If you are seen as directly involved in dirty work, your reputation will be tarnished, your influence diminished, and your power eroded. Therefore, you must learn to delegate the unpleasant tasks and maintain an untarnished public image. Why is keeping your hands clean so powerful? It preserves your reputation. Law number 5. A clean image makes you appear virtuous, trustworthy, and honorable, which are vital for attracting allies and maintaining public support. It keeps others guessing about your involvement. If dirty deeds are done, but no direct link to you can be found, suspicion lingers on others, or on vague forces, not on you. It allows you to appear as a moral authority. By distancing yourself from the undesirable actions, you can even publicly condemn them, further enhancing your righteous image. It prevents direct retaliation. If an enemy is harmed, but they cannot definitively trace the action back to you, their capacity for direct revenge is hampered. It cultivates an aura of control, the ability to achieve desired outcomes without visible effort or without getting messy, suggests a masterful and subtle power. Consider the historical example of Cardinal Mazarin, the successor to Richelieu as chief minister to the King of France. Mazarin was a brilliant but often ruthless politician. When unpopular or morally questionable actions needed to be taken, such as raising taxes or arresting troublesome nobles, he would often use intermediaries, his dirty workmen. He allowed these subordinates to bear the brunt of public hatred and resentment, while he himself maintained a more statesmanlike and less culpable image, thus preserving his power and the king's. In a modern corporate context, a CEO might hire a specialized consulting firm to implement unpopular layoffs or restructuring. The consultants do the dirty work, bear the public backlash, and then depart, while the CEO, though ultimately responsible, maintains a cleaner image, able to express regret without having directly wielded the axe. How do you keep your hands clean? Use cat's paws, intermediaries. Find others, often subordinates or expendable allies, who are willing or easily manipulated to perform the unpleasant tasks on your behalf. Create a fall guy. Have someone ready to take the blame if things go wrong, or if a controversial action needs to be publicly accounted for. This person should be easily replaceable or have less power than you. Employ a straw man or a scapegoat. Divert blame to an external enemy or a convenient patsy when a problem arises, even if you are indirectly responsible. Use the innocent hand technique. Structure actions so that the harmful effects are an indirect consequence of seemingly benign decisions, making it difficult to trace direct intent. Master the art of plausible deniability. Ensure that there is always a reasonable doubt about your direct involvement in any controversial action. Avoid leaving paper trails or direct orders for dirty work. The danger of ignoring this law is that you become associated with every unpleasant or ethically questionable action you take. Your reputation suffers. People lose trust in your integrity, and you become a target for moral condemnation and direct retaliation. You lose the ability to lead, to inspire, or to maintain the moral high ground. This law teaches us that power is as much about managing appearances as it is about achieving results. It's about understanding that public perception is a powerful force, and by strategically distancing yourself from the messy details, you preserve your most valuable asset, your untarnished image. By keeping your hands clean, you can navigate the treacherous waters of power, making necessary but unsavory moves while always appearing virtuous and above the fray. So, when a difficult or controversial action needs to be taken, ask yourself, how can I achieve this outcome without personally getting my hands dirty, ensuring my reputation remains pristine?
Chapter 27. Law 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Let's now delve into one of the most powerful and dangerous laws,
one that explains the magnetic allure of charismatic leaders and the fervent devotion they inspire. Law number 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. This law explores how, by offering people something to believe in, a grand vision, a utopian promise, or a sense of belonging, you can command immense loyalty and unwavering support. Imagine a world filled with uncertainty, loneliness, and a lack of meaning. People naturally yearn for purpose, for something bigger than themselves, for a leader who offers clear answers and a sense of direction. This profound human need to believe, to have faith in something, is the foundation upon which cult-like followings are built. By tapping into this deep psychological desire, you can create a powerful bond that transcends logic and commands extraordinary devotion. Why is cultivating a cult-like following so powerful? It provides immense loyalty. Followers will work tirelessly, make sacrifices, and defend you fiercely because they believe in you and the vision you represent. It creates an unshakable base of support. A devoted following is immune to rational arguments or external criticism, as their belief is rooted in emotion and faith. It generates unstoppable momentum. A unified, passionate group working towards a common goal can achieve extraordinary feats and overcome immense obstacles. It confers an aura of charisma. The sheer number and devotion of your followers enhance your perceived power and make you appear divinely inspired or exceptionally gifted. It deflects blame and criticism. When problems arise, the followers will often blame external forces or internal traitors, protecting the leader's image. Consider the historical example of figures like Joan of Arc, who, though not a traditional power seeker, inspired a cult-like devotion among French soldiers with her divine visions and unwavering faith, turning the tide of the 100 Years' War. Or think of the political cults of personality that have surrounded dictators throughout history, where masses genuinely believed in their leader as a savior, even in the face of immense suffering. While these examples are extreme, they illustrate the raw power of belief. In a more benign context, a successful entrepreneur or visionary leader might inspire a cult-like following among their employees or early adopters, not through manipulation, but by offering a compelling vision, a clear purpose, and the sense of shared mission that transcends mere employment. They make people believe in a common dream. How do you play on people's need to believe? Offer a grand vision or cause. Provide a purpose that is larger than the individual, something that people can dedicate their lives to. This could be a revolutionary idea, a utopian promise, or a powerful ideology. Cultivate an aura of mystery and prophecy. Law 17. Appear as if you have special insight, unique wisdom, or a connection to a higher power or truth. Use enigmatic language. Simplify complex issues. Offer clear, concise answers to complex problems, even if they are oversimplifications. People crave certainty in uncertain times. Create rituals and symbols. Establish unique practices, language, or symbols that bind your followers together and create a sense of exclusivity and belonging. Play on their emotions. Appeal to hopes, fears, dreams, and anxieties. Create a sense of us against them, where your group is the enlightened few. Promise transformation. Offer the promise of a better future, personal growth, or a radical change in their circumstances if they follow you. The danger of ignoring this law is that you struggle to gain deep, unwavering loyalty and support. You remain a mere manager or administrator, unable to tap into the profound human desire for meaning and connection.
Without a strong emotional bond, your followers are easily swayed by rivals or external criticisms. This law teaches us that power is not just about logic and strategy, but about tapping into the deepest currents of human psychology. It's about understanding that people crave something to believe in, and by offering a compelling vision, you can become the object of their fervent devotion. By cultivating a cult-like following, you build an unshakable foundation of support that can propel you to extraordinary heights. So what grand vision or compelling belief can you offer that will inspire such unwavering loyalty and transform casual observers into devoted followers?
Chapter 28, Law 28, Enter Action with Boldness. Let's now explore a dynamic and energizing law that speaks to the power of decisive action and the magnetic allure of courage. Law number 28, Enter Action with Boldness. This law asserts that when you move with courage, conviction, and an air of unwavering confidence, you often intimidate opponents, inspire allies, and seize opportunities that hesitation would forfeit. Imagine a lion leading its pride. It doesn't cautiously assess every blade of grass. It moves with an undeniable presence, a roar of conviction, and a swiftness that commands respect and asserts dominance. Timidity, hesitation, and a lack of conviction are often perceived as weakness, inviting challenges and undermining your authority. Boldness, however, projects strength, confidence, and an almost irresistible force. Why is boldness so powerful? It intimidates opponents. A bold move can shatter an enemy's morale, making them doubt their own strength and making them think you possess a secret advantage. It inspires confidence in allies. When you act boldly, your supporters feel more secure, more motivated, and more willing to follow your lead, believing in your strength. It creates an illusion of control. Even if you're uncertain, acting boldly suggests you know exactly what you're doing, leading others to believe you are in command. It seizes opportunities. Hesitation often means missed opportunities. Bold action, by contrast, allows you to strike swiftly and capitalize on fleeting moments. It often leads to forgiveness for mistakes. People are often more forgiving of a bold mistake than a timid failure. A bold error can be spun as a calculated risk, while timid errors are seen as ineptitude. Consider the historical example of Hernán Cortés and his conquest of Mexico. Upon arriving, he famously burned his ships. This was an incredibly bold and symbolic act. It eliminated any possibility of retreat, forcing his men to commit entirely to the conquest. This sheer boldness in the face of overwhelming odds not only galvanized his own small force, but also instilled fear in the Aztec Empire, who saw it as an act of divine or superhuman confidence. Another example might be a daring entrepreneur who, with limited resources, launches an innovative product with a confident, high-profile marketing campaign. Their sheer boldness and conviction might attract early adopters and investors, even if the product isn't yet perfect, simply because they project an aura of inevitable success. So how do you enter action with boldness? Conceal your doubts, Law 3. Even if you feel uncertain internally, project an outward appearance of absolute conviction. Act decisively. When an opportunity or a challenge arises, make a quick, firm decision and execute it without wavering. Speak with authority. Your tone, body language, and choice of words should convey absolute confidence in your plans and pronouncements. Take calculated risks. Boldness isn't recklessness. It's about being willing to take significant risks after careful consideration, knowing that the reward outweighs the potential cost. Create an impressive spectacle. Law 6. Make your bold actions highly visible and dramatic, turning them into a powerful statement that captures attention. Always appear to be taking the initiative. Don't wait for others to act. Be the first to move, to propose, to challenge. The danger of ignoring this law is that you are perceived as weak, indecisive, and easily manipulated. Your hesitation invites others to challenge you. Your caution causes you to miss fleeting opportunities, and your lack of conviction drains the morale of your allies. You become a follower, not a leader. This law teaches us that power is often a performance, and the most compelling performance is one of unwavering confidence and decisive action. It's about understanding that the appearance of courage is often just as effective as genuine courage, and that the world often rewards those who seize the moment with conviction. By entering action with boldness, you project an aura of irresistible power, commanding respect, inspiring loyalty, and bending circumstances to your will. So the next time you face a critical decision or an opportunity, ask yourself, how can I approach this with such undeniable boldness that all resistance crumbles and success becomes inevitable?
And there you have it, listeners, a comprehensive journey through the first 28 of Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. We've uncovered the intricate dance of influence, the subtle art of manipulation, and the pragmatic strategies employed by history's most powerful figures. From never outshining the master to crushing your enemy totally, from cultivating an aura of unpredictability to recreating yourself entirely, these laws offer a stark and often uncomfortable glimpse into the realities of human ambition and interaction. Remember, understanding these laws isn't about becoming nefarious. It's about becoming aware, strategic, and capable of navigating the complex world around you, whether to protect yourself or to advance your own legitimate goals. Knowledge is power, and with this knowledge, you are better equipped to observe, analyze, and act with greater intention. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue our deep dive into the remaining laws, further unraveling the tapestry of power dynamics. If you found this summary insightful, thought-provoking, or simply empowering, please show your support. Hit that like button, share this episode with anyone you believe could benefit from these powerful lessons, and of course, subscribe to Vibe Audiobook so you never miss out on our future explorations into wisdom and strategy. Your support helps us bring more valuable content to you. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay strategic, stay powerful, and keep vibing with wisdom.
Welcome, Vibe Audiobook listeners, to a journey that promises to transform your understanding of leadership, not by seeking the spotlight, but by embracing the profound power of solitude. Have you ever felt the relentless pull of constant demands, the never-ending stream of decisions, and the subtle erosion of your inner compass amidst the noise of the world? If so, then Lead Yourself First, Inspiring Leadership Through Solitude by Michael S. Irwin and Raymond Kethledge is the guiding light you've been searching for. This isn't just another leadership book. It's a profound invitation to step back, reconnect with your authentic self, and discover that the most impactful leadership begins not with a grand declaration, but with quiet, introspective moments. Prepare to unlock a richer, more resilient, and truly inspiring leadership style that springs from the wellspring of your own inner wisdom. Before we dive into this incredible wisdom, take a moment to hit that like button, share this episode with someone who needs to hear this message, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Vibe Audiobooks so you never miss another transformative listening experience. Now, let's begin. Introduction: The unseen foundation of great leadership. Imagine a magnificent oak tree, its branches reaching wide, its leaves providing shade and shelter, its grandeur undeniable. We admire its strength, its resilience, and its ability to weather storms, but often we overlook the unseen power beneath the earth, its intricate network of roots. These roots silently drawing sustenance, anchoring the tree against gales, and supporting its monumental growth, are a perfect metaphor for the concept of solitude, as presented in Lead Yourself First, Inspiring Leadership Through Solitude by Michael S. Irwin and Raymond Kethledge. In a world that seems to operate at an ever-increasing pace, constantly demanding our attention, where busyness is often mistakenly equated with productivity and constant connectivity is the norm, Irwin and Kethledge invite us to pause, breathe, and profoundly reconsider the very bedrock of effective leadership. Their central argument is both simple and revolutionary. True, impactful leadership doesn't emerge from the cacophony of constant interaction, the endless pursuit of external validation, or the loudest voice in the room. Instead, it quietly blossoms from within, nurtured by deliberate moments of solitude, deep reflection, and quiet introspection. The authors gently, yet firmly, challenge our preconceived notions of what makes a great leader. We are often taught to network more, delegate more, communicate more, and be more visible. While these are undoubtedly valuable skills, Irwin and Kethledge argue that without an equally strong internal foundation, these external actions can become hollow, reactive, and ultimately less effective. They posit that the most successful and inspiring leaders throughout history, from diverse fields and eras, shared a common, often overlooked practice, a conscious commitment to solitude. It was in these quiet moments that they gained clarity, found courage, sparked creativity, and cultivated a deep sense of compassion, the very hallmarks of exceptional leadership. This introduction sets the stage for a transformative journey, gently nudging us to question the dominant paradigms of leadership and to open our minds to a more profound, sustainable, and ultimately more fulfilling path. It's an invitation to embark on an inward expedition, promising that by doing so, we will not only emerge as leaders who are more effective in guiding others, but also as individuals who are more authentic, resilient, and truly inspiring. The book isn't just advocating for solitude as a personal preference, it's presenting it as a vital, strategic imperative for anyone aspiring to lead with purpose and impact in today's complex world. It's about building an unshakable inner core that enhances your ability to navigate challenges and drive meaningful change. The authors assure us that by embracing solitude, we can transform our leadership from a state of constant reaction to one of thoughtful, intentional, and deeply resonant action.
Chapter 1. The Scarcity of Solitude in the Modern World. In this foundational chapter, Irwin and Kethledge don't mince words as they paint a stark and compelling picture of the modern landscape, a world relentlessly characterized by hyperconnectivity, an overwhelming deluge of digital noise, and a pervasive, almost pathological aversion to being truly alone with one's thoughts. Take a moment to reflect on your own daily life. Our smartphones have become virtual extensions of our hands. A constant stream of notifications vies for our dwindling attention spans, and even our moments of supposed downtime are often filled with the passive consumption of social media feeds, endless streaming content, or the ever-present hum of digital communication. The authors argue, with growing urgency, that this pervasive scarcity of solitude isn't merely a lifestyle choice or an unfortunate byproduct of technological advancement. It is, in fact, a silent but profound crisis for leadership with far-reaching implications. They contend that without dedicated, intentional time for quiet reflection, leaders become trapped in a reactive loop, constantly responding to the latest crisis, the most urgent email, or the loudest voice in the room. This state of perpetual reaction prevents them from being proactive, strategic, and deeply thoughtful. It's akin to a ship's captain trying to navigate treacherous waters in a dense fog, constantly bumping into obstacles without a clear vision of the destination or a reliable compass to guide them. The absence of solitude leaves leaders easily swayed by external pressures, prone to superficial judgments, and increasingly detached from their core values and long-term vision. The authors meticulously detail how this erosion of personal space and quiet time directly impacts a leader's most critical faculties. Without the mental breathing room that solitude provides, critical thinking becomes shallow, sound judgment is compromised by impulsivity, and maintaining emotional equilibrium amidst constant stress becomes an almost impossible feat. Leaders risk becoming mere managers of tasks and information rather than visionary architects of the future. The chapter delves into the societal mechanisms that contribute to this scarcity of solitude, from the glorification of busyness as a sign of importance to the fear of missing out that keeps us tethered to our devices and social circles.
Irwin and Kethledge are careful to clarify that this chapter is not a condemnation of technology itself, nor is it a call to retreat into isolation. Rather, it is a powerful and sobering warning about the dangerous imbalance we, as individuals and as a society, have collectively created. It highlights how the relentless onslaught of external stimuli actively inhibits the internal processes necessary for deep thought, ethical consideration, and innovative problem-solving. By illuminating the problem so clearly and meticulously, the authors lay a robust and undeniable groundwork for why the solution, a conscious and deliberate embrace of solitude, is not merely beneficial or desirable, but absolutely essential for anyone aspiring to lead with genuine purpose, profound impact, and sustained resilience in the relentlessly hyper-connected and increasingly complex world we inhabit. They challenge us to acknowledge the pervasive addiction to external stimulation and to confront our own discomfort with the quietude necessary to truly hear our own thoughts. This chapter serves as a stark wake-up call, urging us to recognize the profound cost of a life devoid of intentional solitude, particularly for those entrusted with the responsibility of leadership.
Chapter 2. What Solitude Truly Is and Isn't. Having underscored the critical need for solitude, Irwin and Kethledge dedicate this pivotal chapter to meticulously defining what solitude genuinely means in the context of effective leadership, while simultaneously dispelling common and often harmful misconceptions. This clarification is absolutely crucial, because for many, the word solitude immediately conjures images of loneliness, isolation, or even a sense of punishment. The authors go to great lengths to disabuse us of these notions, emphasizing that true solitude, as they advocate for it, is something entirely different and profoundly beneficial. They explain, with thoughtful nuance, that genuine solitude is not about being miserable, feeling disconnected from others, or retreating from societal obligations. On the contrary, it is a deliberate, purposeful, and often invigorating act of stepping away from external distractions, influences, and the constant hum of other people's expectations. Its primary objective is to create an unencumbered space for deep internal engagement and reflection. To illustrate, consider the analogy of a master sculptor carefully, patiently, and precisely chiseling away excess stone to reveal the magnificent masterpiece hidden within. Solitude, in this context, is that very chiseling process for the mind and spirit. It's about consciously creating mental and emotional space where you can clearly hear your own thoughts, critically examine your beliefs and assumptions, and reconnect with your authentic self without the relentless bombardment of external opinions, urgent demands, or the unspoken expectations of others. It's a dedicated time for self-dialogue, for internal audit, and for recalibrating your inner compass. The authors meticulously emphasize that solitude is incredibly versatile and can manifest in various forms, making it accessible to virtually anyone. It doesn't necessarily demand prolonged physical isolation, though that can certainly be a powerful component. Instead, it's defined by the absence of external input and the presence of internal focus. This could be a long, unhurried walk in nature, where the gentle rhythm of your steps and the sounds of the environment allow your thoughts to flow freely. Dedicated meditation or mindfulness practices, focusing on breath and observation of thoughts without judgment. The ritual of daily journaling, where putting thoughts onto paper creates clarity and structure. Simply sitting quietly in a room, deliberately turning off all electronic devices and allowing your mind to wander and settle. Even a few moments of intentional quiet during a busy day, perhaps while waiting for a meeting to start, choosing to breathe and observe rather than immediately checking your phone. This chapter brilliantly clarifies that solitude is not a passive state of doing nothing, but rather an active choice,
a disciplined practice, and a profoundly powerful tool for self-discovery, self-mastery, and the cultivation of inner wisdom. By distinguishing it so sharply from loneliness, Irwin and Kethledge lay an unshakable foundation for understanding its profound and multifaceted benefits for leadership. They challenge us to embrace solitude as an essential, invigorating practice that empowers us to become more grounded, more reflective, and ultimately more effective leaders, fully in command of our inner landscape.
Chapter 3. The 4 Pillars of Solitude-Driven Leadership. In this pivotal chapter, Irwin and Kethledge introduce the very core framework of their argument, unveiling the 4 crucial elements that solitude uniquely cultivates and strengthens within a leader. They present these not as mere attributes, but as fundamental pillars, like the 4 robust cornerstones supporting a magnificent, enduring edifice. This edifice, they imply, is your leadership legacy, built on a foundation of deep internal strength. These 4 pillars are clarity, courage, creativity, and compassion. Let's explore each one in detail. First, clarity. Imagine trying to see the bottom of a pond that has been constantly stirred and agitated. Its depths remain obscured by swirling mud and debris. Now, picture that same pond when left undisturbed. With time and stillness, the sediment settles, the water clears, and you can see with perfect transparency to its very bottom. Solitude offers precisely this clearing process for the mind. When you consciously step away from the relentless noise, the endless demands, and the constant barrage of information, your mind gains the necessary space and quietude to process information deeply, identify true priorities amidst distractions, and gain a much-needed perspective on complex situations. This inner clarity allows leaders to cut through the trivial, discern the essential from the urgent, and focus their energy and resources on what truly matters. It enables them to make decisive, well-reasoned judgments that are not reactive, but proactive and strategic. Without clarity, leadership becomes a frantic, rudderless activity. With it, a leader becomes a precise, purposeful navigator. Second, courage. True courage in leadership is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act decisively and ethically despite fear. In moments of quiet, uninterrupted reflection, leaders can confront their deepest fears, meticulously assess risks without external influence, and solidify their convictions. This profound inner strength, carefully forged in the crucible of solitude, empowers them to stand firm in their principles, even when facing significant opposition, internal doubts, or external pressures to conform. It is the courage to make unpopular but necessary decisions for the long-term good, to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power, and to lead with unwavering conviction rather than being perpetually driven by consensus or expediency. Solitude allows a leader to truly understand why they believe what they believe, giving them the moral fortitude to act on those beliefs, even when the path is difficult or lonely. These 4 pillars are not isolated. They are deeply interconnected and mutually reinforcing. The authors brilliantly illustrate how intentionally cultivating solitude systematically strengthens each of these pillars, transforming a leader from someone merely managing tasks and reacting to circumstances into someone who genuinely inspires, innovates, and makes a profound, lasting impact. Solitude, therefore, is not a retreat from leadership. It is the essential crucible where extraordinary leadership is forged.
Chapter 4. Case Studies. Leaders who embraced solitude. This chapter serves as a powerful validation of Irwin and Kethledge's central thesis, moving from theoretical arguments to compelling, real-world evidence. Here they offer vivid case studies of historical and contemporary leaders from various fields who not only understood but deliberately and consistently integrated solitude into their lives, and whose leadership was undeniably shaped, strengthened, and elevated by this profound practice. Think of it as looking at the magnificent blueprints of architectural masterpieces and meticulously examining the hidden yet absolutely vital structural supports that allowed them to stand tall and endure for centuries. The authors likely delved into the lives of iconic figures, revealing the often overlooked role of their solitary practices. Consider Abraham Lincoln, a leader who carried the immense weight of a fractured nation during the American Civil War. His biographers often describe him retreating to his tent, sometimes late into the night, wrestling with monumental decisions, drafting speeches that would define a nation, and grappling with the moral complexities of war and emancipation. His most profound insights and resolute actions were often forged in agonizing solitude, away from the clamor of his advisors and the demands of war. These were not moments of weakness, but of profound strength-building and moral clarity. Similarly, Winston Churchill, the indomitable wartime leader of Britain, was renowned for his periods of deep reflection and strategic planning. Accounts reveal him often alone in his study at Chartwell, contemplating the fate of his nation during its darkest hours, meticulously crafting his powerful speeches. These were not hours of idleness, but of intense mental and emotional work, where he synthesized information, formulated strategy, and cultivated the courage to inspire a nation. His ability to articulate a clear vision and unwavering resolve sprang directly from these periods of isolated thought. Beyond these historical titans, the book might also explore the lives of leaders such as Mahatma Gandhi, whose practice of fasting and silent reflection was central to his philosophy of nonviolent resistance and his ability to maintain moral clarity in the face of immense political pressure. Or figures like Martin Luther King Jr., who frequently retreated for prayer and meditation, seeking spiritual and moral guidance that underpinned his civil rights leadership. The authors don't limit themselves to political or military leaders. They might also feature contemporary leaders from the worlds of business, science, or even the arts, who consciously carve out time for solitude, whether it's through daily meditation, long walks in nature, regular journaling, or simply by strategically disconnecting from technology. These examples serve as powerful and tangible affirmations, demonstrating that regardless of the era, the cultural context, or the specific field of endeavor, the intentional practice of solitude consistently fuels clarity, courage, creativity, and visionary leadership. These case studies are not just historical anecdotes, they are humanized narratives that make the concept of solitude relatable and actionable. They illustrate that anyone, from a CEO navigating complex market shifts to a team leader managing daily projects, can benefit profoundly from integrating this transformative practice. The stories resonate deeply because they reveal not just what these extraordinary leaders achieved, but how their deliberate solitary practices directly contributed to their exceptional accomplishments, their resilience in the face of adversity, and their enduring legacies. This chapter underscores that solitude is not merely a personal preference, but a proven, powerful tool for leadership excellence.
Chapter 5. Practical Strategies for Cultivating Solitude. Having meticulously established the compelling why and clarified the nuanced what of solitude, this chapter marks a crucial transition to the actionable how. It's one thing to intellectualize the benefits of solitude. It's an entirely different and often challenging endeavor to consistently weave this vital practice into the complex, demanding fabric of a modern, busy life. Here, Irwin and Keflage provide an invaluable array of practical, actionable strategies that readers can immediately implement, transforming the abstract ideal of solitude into a tangible, sustainable habit. Think of this chapter as a well-stocked toolkit, offering various instruments designed to help you construct and protect your own personal sanctuary of quiet introspection. The authors demonstrate a keen understanding that finding solitude is not a one-size-fits-all solution. They recognize that different individuals have different schedules, preferences, and environmental constraints. Therefore, they wisely offer a diverse range of approaches catering to various lifestyles and situations. This comprehensive suite of strategies likely includes scheduling solitude sprints or quiet appointments. This is perhaps the most fundamental and effective strategy. The authors advocate for deliberately blocking out short, regular periods, perhaps 15 to 30 minutes, in your daily calendar. These are non-negotiable appointments with yourself, explicitly designated for uninterrupted reflection, completely free from meetings, emails, phone calls, or any other external demands. This could be the first thing in the morning, during a dedicated segment of your lunch break, or quietly before bed. The key is intentionality and consistency, treating it with the same importance as any other critical meeting. The power of the mindful walk. Encouraging mindful walking, especially in natural settings like a park, a quiet street, or a hiking trail, as a potent form of active solitude. The rhythmic movement, combined with intentional observation of your surroundings or simply letting your mind wander without judgment,